Chapter 31:22. In the sky above the Milky Way, a small island was flying rapidly. A dozen middle-aged and old men were sitting on it. A young man riding on a semi-dragon looked around with a hint of arrogance on his face. The flood dragon he was riding on, Sky Halberd Dragon Horse, had a horn like a halberd and was covered in dragon scales. It was full of majesty. In its eyes, there was a tinge of unwillingness. It wasn't an ordinary flood dragon. It had the noble bloodline of the divine dragon flowing in it. Its ancestor was a pinnacle expert in the universe and was once a pure-blooded divine dragon. However, it was given as a gift by other dragon species to others as a mount. The island flew rapidly towards the volcano region. The main dragon palace. After the dragon palace was moved here and announced in the Milky Way, the members of the Dragon Palace started to transform the surroundings of the volcano region. Firstly, as the future base of the Dragon Palace, it couldn't be so chaotic. It had to be full of majesty and majesty. A group of Dragon Palace venerables moved the volcanoes and created a vast territory. Prime Minister Turtle even ordered the experts of the Dragon Palace to condense the volcanoes into divine dragons. From afar, the divine dragon flaming mountains were filled with grandeur. Sky Formation started to set up arrays around the Dragon Palace. Now that Sky Formation had the strength of a Rank 2 Universe Venerable, he set up all sorts of powerful arrays around the Dragon Palace. Even if a Rank 2 Universe Venerable came here to cause trouble, the arrays would be activated and he would be killed instantly. After all, after Sky Formation broke through, he could fight against at least 3 existences of the same level. Setting up arrays in his own territory would allow him to unleash even more terrifying strength. The Dragon Palace had more than 20 Universe Venerables, so it was easy to transform the volcano region. However, Sky Formation would need some time to set up the arrays. To complete it, it would take at least a few months. All the members of the Dragon Palace were filled with excitement. With the Dragon Palace's strength, they would have more confidence. The Dragon Palace should be below. Above the Milky Way volcano region, an island floated. Venerable Lu Shan's sharp eyes stared down as he said faintly, A group of middle-aged and old men watched from the side. Given his strength, he couldn't sense it at all. Crash! As Venerable Lu Shan waved his arm, the entire island fell into the Milky Way and flew downwards rapidly. What a magnificent dragon palace! As they rapidly approached the bottom of the Milky Way, the people on the island looked around. Those divine dragons that stretched for tens of thousands of miles, that majestic aura, and the majestic dragon palace, which made them filled with amazement. Rumor has it that the divine dragon likes treasures. I wonder if it's true or not, but the heavenly dragon race's domain is also very imposing, even more imposing than this place. A middle-aged man smiled and said, More and more drakes are returning to their ancestry and establishing the divine dragon lineage. Perhaps the divine dragon lineage can return to the pinnacle of the universe. An old man holding a strange zither said with a smile, It's basically impossible to return to the pinnacle of the universe. Which of the current pinnacle races in the universe hasn't experienced numerous eons? It's been a long time since a pinnacle race was born. Venerable Lu Shan said slowly. The people at the side immediately listened respectfully. The current Divine Dragon clan can only be called the Draconic clan. As Venerable Lu Shan spoke, he looked ahead. Who are you? At this moment, the 2 patrolling Yakshas noticed them and immediately flew over, asking them, Third Order God Emperor, a little weak. The young man riding on the heavenly halberd dragon horse swept a glance at the 2 patrolling Yakshas and commented indifferently. Several middle-aged and old men beside him nodded in agreement. Indeed, they were a little weak as they only had the strength of a Third Order God Emperor. We are from the ancient painting sect. We are here to pay a visit to the Dragon Palace. Venerable Lu Shan said indifferently, Wait here for a moment, we will go and report. One of the patrolling Yakshas said. In a flash, he flew towards the Dragon Palace at the back. These people from the Dragon Palace are lacking in upbringing. Our deputy sect leader is a Universe Venerable. Not only did he not show any respect to a Universe Venerable, he even asked us to wait here. The old man holding the zither frowned and transmitted his voice in displeasure. I heard that they have just advanced to a primary cosmic race. I think they were lucky to obtain the Crescent Moon Venerable's treasures. A middle-aged man replied. Venerable Lu Shan stood on the island and looked at the dragon palace in front of him without saying a word. However, when he looked at the dragon palace in front of him, a tinge of contempt flashed in his eyes. Based on his senses, he could easily break through the defense of the dragon palace. The current dragon palace had yet to be upgraded and could only withstand attacks from those below the venerable realm. It had no resistance against venerables. In his heart, Venerable Lu Shan already had a basic judgment of the dragon palace. What are the experts from the ancient painting sect doing in the dragon palace? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly when he received the report from the members of the dragon palace. He moved and headed out immediately. Prime Minister Turtle also followed beside him. Greetings to the ancient painting sect. Apologies for not coming out to welcome you. Wang Xian flew out of the dragon palace and looked at the group. His eyes fell on Venerable Lu Shan as he welcomed them with a smile. This is? Venerable Lu Shan looked at Wang Xian with curiosity. Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian cupped his fists and said, Venerable Lu Shan, this way please. He gestured for them to follow and led them to a place at the side. In front of the Dragon Palace, they had specially set up a guest hall. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace seems to be the one wanted by the dragon descendants. At this time, the young man riding on the heavenly halberd dragon horse suddenly transmitted his voice. Yes, it's true. It seems like the Dragon Palace has a feud with the dragon descendants in the Milky Way. The rest of the middle-aged and old men nodded their heads slightly. Dragon King, you guys are really impressive to have obtained the treasures of Venerable Crescent Moon. Haha, we paid a huge price to get that battle angel. Venerable Lu Shan walked beside Wang Xian and replied politely, I was just lucky. May I know why Venerable Lu Shan and the rest are here at the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian smiled and entered the hall. He gestured to them to take a seat. Nothing too important. We came to the Milky Way to stay here for a few days. Coincidentally, the Dragon Palace announced that they were part of the Divine Dragon lineage. Our ancient painting sect has a good relationship with the Heavenly Dragon clan, which is also part of the Divine Dragon lineage. Therefore, we were curious and wanted to take a look. Venerable Lu Shan chuckled. He had wanted to be polite and say that he wanted to befriend them. However, after hearing Tian's voice transmission, he changed his words. He wasn't here to participate in the fight in the Milky Way. Chapter 31-23 Heavenly Dragon Clan? Upon hearing Venerable Lu Shan's words, Wang Xian pondered. He had learned a little about the Heavenly Dragon Clan recently. This was the closest divine dragon clan to the Dragon Palace. It was rumored to have hundreds of powerful, venerable dragon gods. Are you on good terms with the Heavenly Dragon Clan? Wang Xian swept his gaze across the sky dragon mount that the young man was riding with a puzzled look. A clan that treated sky dragons as mounts would be on good terms with the Divine Dragon Clan? Hee, this sky dragon is a gift from the Heavenly Dragon Clan to our ancient painting sect. A sky halberd dragon horse with a strong bloodline. What do you think of this sky dragon, Dragon King? Venerable Lu Shan chuckled and asked. Very strong bloodline. I didn't expect the Heavenly Dragon Clan to fall to this extent. Wang Xian said plainly. Venerable Lu Shan raised an eyebrow upon hearing Wang Xian. He then smiled and said, I heard that the Dragon Palace has a purebred divine dragon. I wonder if the Dragon King can let us take a look? Our main purpose for coming here is to have an exchange and see if the Dragon Palace has any items that can help the sky dragons improve rapidly. We can exchange them. As he spoke, he looked at the divine dragon statues around him. Forget it. All the divine dragons in the Dragon Palace are our disciples. We don't have any exchanges, and we don't have any treasures that can help the sky dragons improve. Wang Xian shook his head upon hearing his words. What a joke. Let them take a look at a purebred divine dragon? Were they treating the Dragon Palace as a zoo? Were the disciples of the Dragon Palace just for viewing? Wang Xian's rejection stunned Venerable Lu Shan. He shook his head slightly. Several middle-aged and old men frowned slightly at the side, and their faces showed displeasure. It was especially so for that young man, who was staring coldly at Wang Xian. Such a powerful heavenly clan had even sent gifts to their ancient painting sect. Now, this puny dragon palace wasn't giving them any face at all. However, the sky-halberd dragon horse beneath the young man shivered upon hearing Wang Xian's words. "Dragon King, save me. I don't want to be a mount forever." Suddenly, a voice rang in Wang Xian's ears. Upon hearing this voice, he was taken aback and looked at the sky-halberd dragon horse that the young man was riding. Huh! Since a beast has been reduced to a mount, it must have the thoughts of a mount. Venerable Lu Shan stared at the heaven-halberd dragon horse, and a suppressive force enveloped it. Pa! The heaven-halberd dragon horse could not withstand the terrifying pressure and knelt on the ground. Wang Xian swept his gaze across and squinted his eyes. "Venerable Lu Shan, I wonder if your celestial halberd dragon horse is for sale? Heavenly halberd dragon horse?" Upon hearing Wang Xian, Venerable Lu Shan raised an eyebrow. "Dragon King, you won't even let us see the divine dragons of your dragon palace, and now you want to buy my heaven halberd dragon horse? The bloodline power of my mount, the heavenly halberd dragon horse, might be higher than the bloodline power of all the alternative dragons in your dragon palace." Before Venerable Lu Shan could continue, the young man beside him said coldly, "Our dragon palace is not the heavenly dragon clan. All the members of our dragon palace are disciples of the dragon palace. We are not for people to admire, let alone trade." Wang Xian said plainly, "Dragon King, to put it bluntly, your dragon palace is still far from the heavenly dragon tribe." Venerable Lu Shan said with a smile on his face. There was a tinge of sarcasm in his smile. "I don't know if the dragon palace is comparable to the heavenly dragon clan. However, the fact that the heavenly dragon clan sends their own clansmen to others as mounts shows that they are mediocre." Wang Xian said with a tinge of sarcasm, "Dragon King, the heavenly dragon clan is a friend of our ancient painting sect. Their strength isn't something that your dragon palace can compare to. Don't criticize others." Venerable Lu Shan retracted his smile and reminded, "So what if I criticize them? Isn't that the way it is? It's shameful for a primary race in the universe to send their own clansmen to be slaves." Wang Xian shook his head sarcastically with disdain in his eyes. As a primary race in the universe, even the human race, which had the largest population, wouldn't send their own clansmen to be slaves. The heavenly dragon clan still dared to call themselves the divine dragon lineage. This was a disgrace to the divine dragon clan. Hee, Dragon King, that's because you don't know the current situation of the divine dragon lineage in the universe. Don't tell me you still think that the current divine dragon lineage is the pure-blooded divine dragon that once stood at the pinnacle of the universe? You can't have such arrogance. Your dragon palace is just an ordinary primary race in the universe." Venerable Lu Shan chuckled. As they conversed, the tension between them gradually rose. "How many of the current divine dragon lineage are real dragons? The divine dragon lineage is just an ordinary race in the universe. Now isn't the time to be immersed in the glory of the past. We have to look at the reality." The young man riding on the heavenly halberd dragon horse said coldly, "Our Dragon King is talking to Venerable Lu Shan. What right do you, an Emperor God expert, have to interrupt?" Prime Minister Turtle looked at the young man and stared at him coldly. I am. Shut up." The young man wanted to continue speaking, but Prime Minister Turtle shook his aura and charged at him with the aura of a venerable. Venerable Lu Shan squinted his eyes and said coldly, "Dragon King, what's the meaning of this? Are you trying to make an enemy out of our ancient painting sect?" As he spoke, a chilling aura surged from his body. "Since you are here to visit our dragon palace, be a good guest. Don't be arrogant and don't put the rules of the outside in our place. Those who aren't qualified should not interrupt when we are talking. Don't you understand the rules?" Wang Xian looked at Venerable Lu Shan from Ancient Painting Sect and swept his gaze across all of them. When the young man heard Wang Xian, his expression changed drastically. "It seems like the Dragon King doesn't welcome us. It seems like the Dragon Palace doesn't take our Ancient Painting Sect seriously either." Venerable Dragon Mountain said plainly, "Why should I take you seriously? Enemies are enemies and friends are friends. Wang Xian stood up and said plainly, "Ha ha ha, all right. Since we can't be friends, forget it. Let's go." Venerable Lu Shan stood up slowly and burst into laughter. "SK." The young man and a few middle-aged and old men snorted and followed closely behind. "So what you mean is that you want to make an enemy out of our dragon palace?" Wang Xian asked plainly as he looked at their backs. "That will depend on the dragon palace's choice. Don't be too arrogant." Venerable Dragon Mountain sneered without even turning his head. "The choice of our dragon palace?" Wang Xian chuckled and looked at Prime Minister Turtle. "Dragon King, let's become enemies then." Prime Minister Turtle said plainly and waved his hand. Chapter 3124. Our Dragon Palace has made our choice. Hee hee. With Tianjun in the lead, 20 universe supremacies stood at the front and stared at Venerable Lu Shan and the rest calmly. Venerable Lu Shan's eyes narrowed when he saw Tianjun and the rest. He sized them up and his expression changed drastically. "What are you trying to do? You Dragon Palace better know what's good for you." Beside him, the group of middle-aged and old men were infuriated when they saw Tianjun and the rest. Hee hee hee. Didn't you let us choose? Why would we choose to be enemies with you? Of course, we have to kill you. Orochi looked at all of them mockingly. Tianjun waved his arm and started to set up the array. Since he had decided to take action, he would leave the other party here forever. Upon hearing Orochi, Venerable Lu Shan's expression changed drastically. He turned his head immediately and stared at Wang Xian. "Do you know what the Dragon Palace is doing?" Wang Xian looked at him quietly without a word. "The Dragon Palace is courting death." Seeing Wang Xian's silence, he sensed that Tianjun was setting up the array behind him. With a roar, he grabbed the group beside him and dashed forward. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The moment he dashed out, the group of 20 universe supremacies from the Dragon Palace moved. The mighty aura belonging to the supremacies sealed off the surroundings. Tianjun waved his arm and waves of horrifying energy shrouded him. "Lu Shan Island!" Venerable Lu Shan roared. The island not far away in front of him emitted an earthy yellow radiance and flew towards them rapidly. "Hee hee hee! How dare a rank 2 universe supremacy act so arrogantly in our Dragon Palace? How dare you look down on us? Today, we'll annihilate you." Emosha roared. The 10 Dragon Palace experts looked at the Lu Shan Island and flew over. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The combined forces of the 10 of them were enough to fight against a rank 2 universe supremacy. Waves of horrifying energy bombarded the Lu Shan Island. It was a powerful acquired spiritual treasure. What? They are actually all universe supremacies. The group of middle-aged and old men from the ancient painting sect and the young man were horrified when they felt the horrifying aura. All of them were venerables. The Dragon Palace had more than 20 universe supremacies who actually possessed such terrifying strength. Buzz. At this moment, Wang Xian disappeared instantly. Since they had started, Wang Xian would never allow them to leave. With the appearance of the unparalleled sacred wings, Huang Xiaolong, who now had 8 lightning feathers, increased his speed slightly, but his current speed was comparable to a third-order venerable. Bam! Before Venerable Lord Lu Shan could react, he sensed a terrifying force landing on him. Not good. His expression changed drastically, and his eyes were filled with fear. Pooh! He spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his forehead was instantly covered in cold sweat. He started to panic. Dragon eyes lock everywhere. Wang Xian bellowed and sealed the area with layers of seals. With the help of the heavenly formation and Wang Xian, the 2 of them already possessed the strength to kill someone of the same level. With the 2 of them working together, they could even escape from a third-order venerable. Now that they had joined hands to deal with a level 2 universe venerable, and there were 20 Dragon Palace venerable level members surrounding him, it was simply too easy. Given the current situation, he couldn't even react in time to his own attack. The chains bound him in an instant. Wang Xian held onto one end of the chains, and his eyes were filled with coldness and ridicule. Walala! Venerable Lu Shan, who was restrained by the chains, struggled violently. He stared at Wang Xian with widened eyes and said, "Dragon King, we don't have much enmity between us. Why did you kill him? There isn't much hatred, but don't be so arrogant when you come to our dragon palace. Speak nicely, and our dragon palace will treat you well. You asked us if we wanted to be enemies with you, and we chose to be enemies with you. You made us choose, so you have to bear the consequences. With a wave of his arm, the heavenly halberd dragon horse, which was lying on the ground in a daze, was chained to the side. Thank you, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King. The heavenly halberd dragon horse immediately knelt down and thanked him. We can give this heaven halberd dragon horse to you, Dragon King. Let us go. After you let us go, our ancient painting sect will definitely not pursue the matter with the Dragon Palace. Venerable Lu Shan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said fearfully, Is that even possible? Since I've already made my move, there's no other way. Wang Xian shook his head slowly. Walala. As soon as he finished his sentence, the chains shrunk rapidly. Arg! Tragic cries came from their mouths. No, no, don't kill me. Do you know who I am? I'm the grandson of the ancient painting sect's sect leader. Don't kill me. Feeling the threat of death, the young man roared with a face full of horror. Sky Formation, keep an eye on them in case they have any secret treasures that can allow them to escape. Wang Xian looked at them coldly as he spoke to Sky Formation. Yes, Dragon King. Sky Formation nodded his head and set up layers of arrays. He even formed a curse array. Dragon Palace, if you kill us, our ancient painting sect will definitely not let you off. You have to consider this carefully. Venerable Lu Shan shouted sternly. Wang Xian waved his arm, and a grayish force shrouded all of them. No, no, no. The group of young, middle-aged, and old men screamed in despair. They had followed their vice sect leader out this time with the mindset of having fun. There were no forces in the Milky Way that were a match for their ancient painting sect. Therefore, they had always been proud. However, they had never expected the Dragon Palace to lay their hands on them and want to annihilate all of them. They didn't want to die. They were the core disciples of the ancient painting sect and had a strong background. But soon, their screams came to an abrupt end. Venerable Lu Shan's body trembled and lost all signs of life. A level 2 universe venerable lost his life here because of his arrogance. Wang Xian swept his gaze across and handed the corpses to the members of the Dragon Palace. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grindstone flew out and devoured Lu Shan Island. He looked to the side and saw the heavenly halberd dragon horse lying on the ground in awe. Upon seeing Wang Xian's gaze, it lowered its head subconsciously. Follow me into the Dragon Palace and become a disciple of the Dragon Palace in the future, Wang Xian said to it. The main reason why Wang Xian made a move to keep Venerable Lu Shan and the rest here was because of the heavenly halberd dragon horse. When Wang Xian first saw it, he immediately thought of a dragon. Halberd Dragon Guard. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Please collect those who like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Chapter 31-25. The Halberd Dragon Guards were once the most balanced dragon species in the Dragon Palace. In the Divine Dragon Heritage, the Halberd Dragon Guard was one of the main peak dragon species in the Dragon Palace. He wasn't as strong as a berserk dragon, nor did he have the long-range attacks of an arrow dragon, nor did he have the terrifying defense of a royal dragon. However, in terms of attack, defense, and long range, they were very balanced. The Halberd Dragon Guard was a position within the Dragon Palace. In reality, they were the descendants of the heavenly Halberd Dragon Warrior. At that time, the Halberd Dragon Guards were a powerful guardian army of the Dragon Palace. The heavenly Halberd Dragon horse in front of him only possessed a small amount of the Halberd Dragon Guard's bloodline. However, the main reason was that the divine dragon blood in its bloodline was too thin and had too many impurities. If he were to enter the dragon pool to cleanse his bloodline, he could evolve into a heavenly Halberd Dragon Warrior. Once he advanced to become a heavenly Halberd Dragon Warrior, he would be able to fight opponents 3 ranks higher than him. This was secondary. The most important thing was that the Dragon Palace now had another peak-level dragon species. The patrolling yakshas of the Dragon Guard division could also evolve into halberd dragon guards. The Dragon Guardian and roving yaksha had followed Wang Xian all the way from Earth. However, their combat strength was at the bottom of the entire Dragon Palace. As an important army of the Dragon Palace, roving yaksha and the rest urgently needed to evolve into a powerful dragon species. The halberd dragon guards were the best choice. Thank you, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King. The heavenly halberd dragon horse bowed to Wang Xian with excitement. When you join the Dragon Palace in the future, you don't have to kneel to anyone except the Dragon King and Dragon Queen. No one will be able to make you kneel. We are the divine dragon race, the pinnacle existences of the universe. Prime Minister Turtle said to the heavenly halberd dragon horse. Yes, yes. The heaven halberd dragon horse nodded heavily. Come, let's go and call Ao Yaksha and the others over. As Wang Xian spoke, he brought the heavenly halberd dragon horse into the Dragon Palace. With the bloodline of the heavenly halberd dragon horse, he could easily pass the dragon gate. Wang Xian immediately brought him to the dragon transformation pool. There was not much dragon blood in the dragon transformation pool, but there was the corpse of venerable Lu Shan. His corpse was enough for the Dragon Palace to produce a few universe supremacies. Dragon King, is there a powerful dragon species in the Dragon Palace that we can switch to? At this time, roving yaksha and all the members of the Dragon Guard tribe flew over, their faces full of excitement. Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile as he gestured to the heavenly halberd dragon horse. Enter the dragon transformation pool and cultivate. With the majestic dragon blood, the bloodline deep within your body will be stimulated. Wang Xian ordered the heavenly halberd dragon horse. Yes, Dragon King. I, Tianji, will never forget your kindness. The heavenly halberd dragon horse kowtowed to Wang Xian and flew into the dragon transformation pool without hesitation. He looked at her with a smile. At the side, roving yaksha and the others were also waiting excitedly. Just as the heavenly halberd dragon horse entered the dragon transformation pool to evolve, tens of thousands of light years away in the ancient painting sect, the life tablets of the vice sect master and the others shattered, causing an incomparably huge commotion. The location of the Dragon Palace has been locked down. I think it's time to test it out. At the same time, on a luxurious ship on the surface of the Milky Way, a group of people sat on two sides. In front of them was the image of the underwater Dragon Palace. I think this is a good thing for us. Didn't the Dragon Palace say that they want to recruit all Draconic disciples? Didn't they say that they want to protect them? As they are of the divine dragon lineage, there will definitely be many Draconic disciples who will seek refuge with them. As long as we guard the surrounding area, we can test the strength of the Dragon Palace and capture some Draconic mounts. Hee hee. The old man from the Nine Swords race who was sitting on the right said with a smile. Indeed, based on the information we received, the strength of the Dragon Palace shouldn't be too strong. The only unforeseen event is whether the Dragon Palace has more battle angels of the Venerable Realm. After all, the Crescent Moon Venerable was the pinnacle expert on our side. A rank 3 universe Venerable. The old man from the Dragon race on the right nodded. Both of them were universe Venerables. In order to deal with the Dragon Palace and to find out some information, the two major races had given their all. Moreover, each race had sent out 3 universe Venerables for this operation. This force was definitely a terrifying existence. There should be very few battle angels of the Venerable Realm. An old man from the Nine Swords race guessed. It won't be long before we find out how many there are. Let's play with them. The Venerables from the two major races exchanged glances, their eyes filled with coldness. The two major races had decided that they wouldn't rest until the Dragon Palace was destroyed. Hide in the surroundings. Once a Draconic disciple enters the volcano region, capture it immediately. The two major races gave their orders, and the luxurious ships gradually concealed themselves in the ocean. Let's go. As long as we join the Dragon Palace, we will receive its protection. Days passed, and the Dragon Palace officially stepped onto the stage of the Milky Way. The information on the universe AI about the Dragon Palace had attracted the attention of many Draconic disciples. When they saw the information, some of them were excited. Given the current situation of the Draconic disciples, once they were discovered, they would be captured as mounts or killed for their pure dragon blood to be extracted. They couldn't even protect themselves. Now that there was a powerful divine dragon lineage in the Milky Way, many Draconic disciples had decided to join them. The Milky Way was huge. Even if there were fewer Draconic disciples, there were still thousands of them. Some Draconic disciples flew towards the Milky Way volcano region. However, before they reached the volcano region, they attracted the attention of others, the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendant race. It was extremely easy for these two races to monitor a region. With the experts from the two major races taking action, some Draconic disciples were suppressed before they could reach the volcano region. Even though these Draconic disciples were suppressed, they didn't attract any attention, and no one noticed them. Let's go, little sister. The Dragon Palace's territory is just ahead. As long as we join the Dragon Palace, we won't have to worry anymore. Half a month later, a man and a woman were traversing through the Milky Way's sea. The man and woman had the body of a human, but they had dragon horns on their heads, which added a sense of majesty to them. Their eyes were filled with vigilance. "All right, big brother." A young voice sounded from the side, looking around in panic. They were weak. The woman hadn't even reached the God Emperor realm, and the man was only a first-order God Emperor. Luckily, the powerful desolate beasts in the surrounding sea have been cleared by the Dragon Palace. Otherwise, we might not have been able to reach here. The young man spoke in a low voice as he flew forward with his little sister. Wong Wong. Suddenly, the dragon horn on the young man's head shone brightly, and it trembled. Not good. The young man's expression changed, and he quickly grabbed his little sister's arm, shouting, "Run! Run immediately!" Yes. The girl's face turned pale, and she didn't dare to stay any longer. The young man beside her also wanted to return to his god kingdom. Chapter 31:26. Brother. At the bottom of the Milky Way, a woman with dragon horns on her head shouted as she saw her brother being shrouded by the pressure. Her brother's escape was interrupted. Tisk, TSK, TSK. Another two lesser dragons. At this moment, she saw a figure flying towards them at high speed. Soon after, her figure disappeared. When she reappeared, she was back in her own god kingdom. No, brother. Sensing her own god kingdom, she hurriedly flew outside. Beside her was her brother's god kingdom. When she entered, she realized that her brother was not there. Her face turned pale instantly. No, brother. She shook her head in despair as tears flowed from her eyes. However, she quickly wiped her tears, took out the universe AI, and frantically sent out messages. Ha, this is already more than 40 lesser dragons. This is equivalent to our harvest of 10,000 years. At the same time, a middle-aged man from the dragon race said excitedly in the vicinity of the Milky Way volcano domain. Now, in just half a month, the dragon descendants had captured more than 40 drakes. In the current Milky Way, the dragon race only had the opportunity to capture one lesser dragon every few hundred years. A lesser dragon would be of great use to them. It could greatly enhance their bloodline. If they used the bloodline of these lesser dragons to nurture their core disciples, they might be able to nurture a genius who could fight beyond their level and be comparable to Long Zitian. This is just the harvest of the dragon race. The Nine Swords race should have gained quite a lot too. This time, the Dragon Palace has announced that they are protecting the lesser dragons. This is really a good thing for us. An old man beside him said with a smile. After we investigate the background of the Dragon Palace and destroy them, we will be able to obtain a large amount of dragon blood. By then, there will be dragon blood of the universe supremacy level. With that dragon blood, the dragon race might be able to improve tremendously. If the Dragon Palace has a purebred divine dragon, our dragon race might be able to improve further. The middle-aged man said with a smile, "How can there be a purebred divine dragon? In the entire universe, only the experts of the divine dragon race that have reached the mid-level of the universe have purebred divine dragons. There shouldn't be any in other places. Forget about the purebred divine dragon." The old man shook his head. "Let's go." Yes. The middle-aged man nodded. The eyes of the young man with a dragon horn who was restrained by them were wide open, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. The dragon descendants wanted to destroy the dragon palace, and according to their information, the Nine Swords race was also involved. How could this be? A look of despair appeared on the youth's face. Time passed little by little. Within the dragon palace, Tianji's Heaven Halberd dragon warrior bloodline was dug out. With a huge amount of dragon blood, it allowed him to break through to the universe's venerable realm. The dragon palace also had one more peak-level dragon species. Following that, roving Yaksha and the others from the Dragon Guard tribe entered the dragon transformation pool excitedly to improve themselves. Wang Xian watched from the side with a smile. Currently, the patrolling strength of the Dragon Palace was indeed the weakness of the Dragon Palace. After roving Yaksha and the rest evolved into the Halberd Dragon Guards, the Dragon Palace had improved tremendously. Dragon King, something has happened. At this moment, Prime Minister Turtle quickly walked over with a frown. What happened? Seeing Prime Minister Turtle's reaction, Wang Xian frowned and asked. A sky dragon species has sent a large number of private messages to the Dragon Palace. Moreover, there's a video on the Universe AI that has caused quite a stir. As Prime Minister Turtle spoke, he opened the Universe AI and displayed an image before Wang Xian. A girl with dragon horns on her head appeared on the screen with an anxious and pale face. My brother and I wanted to join the Dragon Palace. However, we were attacked by experts along the way. My brother has been captured. I beg the experts of the Dragon Palace to help me rescue my brother. I beg the experts of the Dragon Palace. As the girl spoke, she knelt on the ground with tears streaming down her face. When Wang Xian saw the video, his face darkened immediately. His eyes were beaming with frenzied killing intent. Dragon King, we can confirm that this girl is from the Sky Dragon lineage. She has sent a lot of private messages to the Dragon Palace, saying that she was attacked when she was near the volcano region. The other party was obviously ambushing them there. Prime Minister Turtle continued to explain to Wang Xian. Have you replied to her? Wang Xian asked with a solemn face. Dragon King, we have contacted that girl and received her reply. Prime Minister Turtle said, contact her and get her to tell us where she is. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. Yes, Dragon King. I'm going to get someone to pick her up, Prime Minister Turtle replied. The Turtle Minister replied. After pondering for a moment, he continued, Dragon King. It has been more than half a month since we announced the recruitment and protection of the Flood Dragons. However, not a single person with the Flood Dragon bloodline has come. Something must have happened. I suspect that someone is making use of the news of us recruiting Sky Dragons and is capturing them. Wang Xian nodded. After all, the Dragon Palace has reached the strength of a primary race in the universe. Those who dare to go against us should be those few forces. As he spoke, he already had a guess in his heart. Before the Dragon Palace fully displayed its strength, the other primary races in the universe shouldn't offend the Dragon Palace over a few Sky Dragons. If there were any primary races in the universe that had made a move, it would be the Dragon lineage and the Nine Swords race. These two races should have known that he was from the Dragon Palace. Get Tianjin, Roving Yao, Mao Zedong, Roving Sword, and the rest over. I'll go over personally this time. Wang Xian was filled with murderous intent as he ordered Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Soon, Tianjin, Roving Yao, and the rest arrived. Let's go and pick someone up. Then, we'll investigate. As he spoke, he moved and the few of them flew out. At the same time, the video of the girl was causing a huge commotion in the Milky Way. It can't be? Someone is making use of the news of the Dragon Palace, protecting the Sky Dragons to capture them. This is clearly going against the Dragon Palace. Gosh, going against the Dragon Palace? The Dragon Palace is a primary race in the universe. Although their strength is still unknown, they can sell so many battle angels. They shouldn't be weak. Who would be so daring? Could it be the work of other races in the universe? Under the video of the girl, there were all kinds of replies and speculations. The Dragon Palace said that they would protect the Sky Dragons. In the end, someone was capturing them around the volcano region. This was a slap to the Dragon Palace's face. Chapter 3127. Within the Milky Way, on the universe's AI, a video of a wyvern caused quite a stir. Because there were many topics about the Dragon Palace recently, the discussion about this matter was also unusually lively. Not long after that woman's video, another message caused a huge uproar. An old man who claimed to be a draconic dragon said that he wanted to go to the Dragon Palace to check on the situation, but was ambushed and attacked by the experts of the Nine Swords race. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and escaped the attack. According to his introduction, the one who attacked him was a peak-level god king. When the news spread, it caused quite a shock. Is this information real or fake? The Nine Swords race is capturing flood dragons around the volcano region. Are they trying to become enemies with the Dragon Palace? The race of the Nine Swords has always been hunting wyverns. This information is indeed possible. SSS, if that's true, will the Dragon Palace start a war with the Nine Swords tribe? The establishment of every primary race in the universe will cause a war. The Dragon Palace might really start a war with the Nine Swords race. On the universe AI, countless people were discussing in shock. At the same time, on a slightly backward planet next to the Milky Way, in a small village, a woman was anxiously walking in the courtyard. Her face was filled with anxiety and unease. Buzz. At this moment, Wang Xian Tianjin and the rest appeared above and looked at the lady. Hello, I'm the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. Wang Xian and the rest landed in front of the lady and spoke plainly. Seeing the sudden appearance of Wang Xian, she was shocked. She looked at them from head to toe and immediately knelt down. Dragon King, please save my brother. My brother has been captured. Get up. Wang Xian looked at the girl and sighed. With a wave of his arm, he helped her up. What's your name? Wang Xian asked. Dragon King, my name is Jiao Jiao, and my elder brother is Horn Dragon. The girl stood up and said, You have something on your brother, right? Give it to me. I'll find out where he is. Tianjin said, Don't worry, we will help you find your brother. Wang Xian assured him. Even if he died, the Dragon Palace would be able to save him. Thank you, Dragon King. Thank you, Dragon King. Jiao Jiao quickly expressed her gratitude. Big Brother's Divine Kingdom is here. I will take you there. Divine Kingdom is even better. Tianjin nodded his head. Soon, Wang Xian and the rest followed Jiao Jiao into her brother's holy kingdom. Tianjin waved his arm and began to set up a formation. At the side, Jiao Jiao's eyes were filled with anticipation as she sensed Tianjin's terrifying aura. When the Dragon Palace completely annihilated the remnants of the Ink Han clan, the heavenly formation obtained the witchcraft of the entire Ink Han clan. His current witchcraft foundation was not weak at all. As soon as the formation was set up, an image quickly appeared. In the image was a young man who was imprisoned. Around the young man, can you lock onto his position? Wang Xian asked. The Dragon Palace is a bit troublesome. He should be in a secret place where the array can't detect him. Even with my strength, I can't find it. Then, it can only be the nests of a few primary races in the universe. Tianjin said with a slight frown. His words made Jiao Jiao's face turn pale. Can you lock onto their approximate location? Wang Xian asked. Let me try. Tianjin squinted his eyes and a black book appeared in his hand. Words floated in the air and began to assemble. Finally, a hazy image appeared in his mind. The image was very blurry. Tianjin's eyes flickered. There's only a weak image. We sent it to Prime Minister Turtle and got him to send someone to search for it. It shouldn't take long for them to find it. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at Jiao Jiao. Don't worry. The Dragon Palace will rescue your brother safely. Follow us to the Dragon Palace first. Yes, Dragon King. Jiao Jiao nodded her head heavily. Wang Xian waved his arm and kept her in the mother nest. The few of them moved and disappeared instantly. They returned to the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, there's new news on the artificial intelligence system. An expert suspected to be a sky dragon sent a message on the artificial intelligence system. He said that he was attacked by the Nine Swords race when he was rushing to the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle came over to report when Wang Xian and the rest arrived. The Nine Swords race? Wang Xian squinted his eyes and murderous intent flashed in them. Prime Minister Turtle, help her settle down. He waved his arm and released Jiao Jiao. Jiao Jiao looked around the dragon palace and opened her mouth slightly. Don't worry about your brother. We'll rescue him in a few days. You can rest in the dragon palace now, Prime Minister Turtle said to her. Thank you, thank you. Jiao Jiao nodded her head. Tianjun, gather all the universe supremacies of the dragon palace. We'll check the surroundings of the volcanic domain. I want to see if it's the 9 swords and dragon descendants. As Wang Xian spoke, he flew out directly. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Soon, all the universe supremacies of the dragon palace flew out with murderous intent in their eyes. In the dragon palace, Jiao Jiao's jaw dropped when she saw so many universe supremacies of the dragon palace. Dragon King, how dare they capture a sky dragon near our dragon palace? They have no respect for our dragon palace. Let's declare war on them. I want to see who will be the one killing who. After flying out of the dragon palace, the leaders of the dragon palace bellowed with murderous intent. Let's rescue those sky dragons first. Wang Xian said coldly as he flew towards the periphery of the volcanic domain. Wang. When he arrived at the periphery of the volcanic domain, Wang Xian waved his arm. The crescent moon hovered in the sky and surveyed the situation. At the same time, at the bottom of the Milky Way, a group of middle-aged and old men sat on a ship. Suddenly, the old man in the middle narrowed his eyes and stared at the glowing red ball in front of him. Someone is monitoring the situation over here. He stood up and said immediately, it should be the Dragon Palace. Now that the Sky Dragon on the Universe AI has spread the news over here, get ready. Let's check out the strength of the Dragon Palace. The old man in the middle said, send the news to the Dragon Descendants. An old man beside him said, they were all universe supremacies of the 9 Swords race. Hunting the Sky Dragons was secondary. Their main goal was to test the strength of the Dragon Palace. It's a pity to be discovered so early. I still want to hunt more Sky Dragons. The universe supremacy of the 9 Swords on the right shook his head and said with disappointment, haha, as long as we can annihilate the Dragon Palace, will we be short of Sky Dragons? The 2 universe supremacies of the 9 Swords race laughed eerily. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on Qingdou. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend Qingdou. Please collect if you like Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System updates the fastest. Chapter 3128. You can search for Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System on Baidu. Wonderful Brush Pavilion to find the latest chapter. To be able to become a primary race or a universe venerable, one had to have a strong foundation. Wang Xian had a powerful postnatal spiritual treasure like the crescent moon overhead. However, his strength had yet to reach rank 3 universe venerable. Hence, he could not control crescent moon overhead to be extremely stealthy. The 9 Swords and the Dragon Descendants had powerful anti-detection treasures. However, they did not escape immediately. Instead, they flew out and waited quietly. 3 universe venerables from the 9 Swords race, a dozen peak Emperor God experts, and the treasures of their race. Found them. At this moment, an image appeared in front of Wang Xian, and the rest in a corner of the volcano region. In the image, the people from the 9 Swords race floated quietly at the bottom of the sea with their eyes squinted. Dragon King, they sensed us. Aren't they arrogant? They did not escape. Tianjin's eyes were cold as he spoke. The 2 races did not attack us directly. I guess they don't understand our foundation and have some reservations. Hence, they used this method to test our strength. Wang Xian said coldly, seems like they are confident that we can't keep all of them here. Orochi said with murderous intent, in that case, we will keep them here today. Not a single one of them. Devil Fiend and the rest said coldly, wait, I guess the 9 Swords race and the Dragon Descendants must have joined forces. Soon, the Dragon Descendants will meet up with them. Wang Xian looked on expressionlessly. Tianjun and the rest nodded. I'll set up a formation around here and set up a huge net. With a swift movement, Tianjin flew forward quickly and began to set up a formation. These formations were to prevent the Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants from escaping. Now, every member of the Dragon Palace was filled with murderous intent. They swore to kill all of them. The rest of the Dragon Palace members looked at the people from the Nine Swords race in front of them quietly. Time ticked by. The Dragon Palace has sensed us. Why aren't they coming over? At the same time, at the bottom of the Milky Way, the Universe Venerable in the middle of the Nine Swords race raised his eyebrows. There is one possibility. The Dragon Palace feels that they are no match for us. The old man holding the giant sword on the right smiled faintly and said, "That's possible. According to the information we received, apart from obtaining the treasures of the Crescent Moon Venerable, he only killed a newly advanced Venerable. That newly advanced Venerable was killed unexpectedly and carelessly. I really don't believe that the Dragon Palace is that powerful." "That's right. At most, some of the battle angels in the Crescent Moon's secret realm." The old man on the left said lightly. So. Just as they were talking, several figures flew towards them from behind. "Venerable Star Sword, is the Dragon Palace monitoring you?" The leading Venerable from the dragon race glanced at them and asked. "Yes, we detected that someone is watching us. It should be the Dragon Palace, but they didn't come over." The leader of the Nine Swords race, Venerable Star Sword, replied with a smile. "He didn't come over? If we come, won't they be even more afraid to come over?" The Venerable in the middle of the dragon descendants was slightly taken aback and said, "I think our two races can discuss the matter of attacking the Dragon Palace." Venerable Star Sword said faintly, "I think it's fine." The old man in the middle of the dragon descendants nodded his head. "Now that the AI says that the other flood dragons should know about the danger here, they won't come over. Let's go back and discuss the matter of destroying the Dragon Palace." The Venerables from the dragon descendants and the Nine Swords race decided. Haha, trash Dragon Palace. In the back, a seemingly unruly old man raised his middle finger and mocked the people above. They knew that they were being monitored by the Dragon Palace. His mouth was wide open and they could see what he was saying. Buzz, buzz, buzz. However, at this moment, a terrifying aura surged over. The entire Milky Way's seabed began to change as a foreign world seemed to be invading. The world was changing. The Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants, who were conversing, had a change of expression as they looked ahead immediately. Rumble. However, at this moment, a majestic dragon palace was floating above them. Although the Dragon Palace couldn't withstand the attacks of the Universe Venerables, one had to know that there was a dragon cave of Tianjin and the others inside. Their dragon caves were equivalent to their own cosmos god kingdom. They contained a vast and boundless might. It could be said that summoning the Dragon Palace was Wang Xian's strongest attack. With Tianjin and the others, their strength could also reach its peak. This time, Wang Xian had used all his strength to deal with the 6 Venerables from the Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants. Swish, swish, swish. All the Venerables from the Dragon Palace appeared in front, behind, left, and right. Their faces were filled with cold, murderous intent as they locked onto the Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants. "I swear, I'll make all of you suffer so much that you'll wish you were dead." Wang Xian stared at the Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants and said calmly, "Hee, how dare you insult our Dragon Palace? I'll torture you for 10 years. Demon Fiend stared at the old man who was scolding the Dragon Palace and said coldly, "What?" The 6 Venerables from the Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants sensed the horrifying aura around them. Looking at the 20-odd Venerables from the Dragon Palace hovering around them, their expressions changed drastically. How is this possible? Why does your Dragon Palace have so many Venerables? Venerable Star Sword's heart tightened as cold sweat trickled down his face. His eyes fell on Wang Xian, and his expression changed drastically. The dead don't need to know. Wang Xian moved. Without giving them any time, he flapped his unbeginning saint wings and attacked them instantly. Kill. If I let you guys escape today, I'll chop off my head. Orochi roared violently and attacked them directly. In an instant, the seawater at the bottom of the Milky Way evaporated. 9 divine dragons of 9 different attributes descended from the Dragon Palace in the sky. The appearance of the Dragon Palace also meant that Tianjin and Orochi had summoned their god nations over. The battle of summoning the god nations was usually a battle to the death. Oh no, they have more than 20 venerables, and level 2 universe venerables. Run, run, run. One of the venerables from the dragon descendants roared in horror. At this very moment, the old man who called the Dragon Palace trash was as pale as a sheet and shivered in fear. They couldn't participate in a battle of the venerables. A single wave of energy was enough to crush him. In particular, he realized in despair that a venerable from the Dragon Palace had locked onto him. Chapter 3129. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Under the suppression of Dragon Palace, Wang Xian pushed his speed to the maximum. The heavenly formation's formation descended. The other 20 members of Dragon Palace unleashed their most terrifying attacks. The entire sky changed color. How can there be so many horrifying universe supremacies in Dragon Palace? How is this possible? Venerable Star Sword exclaimed in disbelief. Looking at the horrifying attacks, he could not react at all and could only defend passively. But could he defend against the attacks of a rank 2 universe supremacy? Defend against 3 times the number of rank 1 universe supremacies? When Wang Xian pushed his speed to the maximum, it was comparable to a rank 3 universe supremacy. At such a distance, it was not something they could defend against. Wang Xian appeared behind a universe supremacy and his dragon claw pierced into his body. Cough, cough. No, no, no. I don't want to die. His face was filled with horror as he roared. What? What terrifying speed? To the side, the other 6 venerables widened their eyes in shock. How could they defend against such a terrifying speed? Bam! Wang Xian swung his arm and flung it towards the back. Bam! Roving heavens swung the sea, calming godly needle heavily, and suppressed the supremacy who was almost killed in an instant. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At this moment, the other members of Dragon Palace had launched their attacks. It was especially so for the Sky Formation. With Tianjin's strength alone, he could kill all of them. Dragon Palace had mobilized all their forces this time, which was a huge compliment to them. Defend. The remaining 5 universe venerables trembled as they did their best to raise their defenses. Swish, swish, swish. Before the attacks reached them, the figures of Dragon Palace were already flying towards them. Bam, bam, bam. In the next instant, they were completely enveloped by energy. The 5 of them were horrified and vomited blood. Save me, Laozu. Save me. At this moment, an old man's terrified and despairing scream could be heard from the side. Old thing, how dare you mock our Dragon Palace? I will serve you well from now on. Mo Sha's eerie voice was heard, and the black liquid on his body restrained him. The old man was in despair, and his face was drained of blood. If he was killed, then so be it. However, if he was controlled by the venerable from the Dragon Palace, he could not imagine what kind of disaster would befall him. What kind of torture was he going to suffer? A universe supremacy torturing him, just thinking about it made him terrified. But at this moment, he heard a scream coming from the side. When he looked over again, he saw 2 strange black and white shadows appear behind their patriarch. Extremely sharp thorns pierced through their bodies. He opened his eyes wide, feeling the vast power around him, and slowly closed his eyes. He knew that all of them were finished. They were completely finished. In fact, the 9 Swords race and the Dragon Descendants race would soon have to face an incomparably terrifying enemy. Bam, bam, bam. At the side, the 5 venerables were desperately trying to escape. However, faced with the encirclement of the Dragon Palace members, even one of the venerables who had a powerful escape artifact was destroyed by Wang Xian's Divine Dragon and Saint Dragon Shadow. The Divine Dragon's dragon image instantly appeared around the enemy, trapping them. The dragon image could even attach itself to the enemy's body and deal a fatal blow. Before he could escape from the defensive perimeter, his body directly exploded. 2 minutes later, the 5 venerables were suppressed, and 1 was destroyed. No, don't kill us, don't kill us. The 9 Swords race is willing to compensate you. We will give you all our sky dragons. Venerable Star Sword of the Nine Swords race saw that Wang Xian and the rest did not kill them, and his face was pale as he pleaded for mercy. Don't you think it's too late? Wang Xian looked at them coldly, with a hint of mockery on his face. Not too late, not too late. We are willing to give you all our treasures. Don't kill us, I beg you. A universe supremacy of the dragon descendants race begged for mercy. If we knew the strength of the Dragon Palace, we would not dare to provoke you. Let us go, let us go. A universe supremacy at the side said loudly. They were really afraid now. Nine Swords race, dragon descendants race. You have killed many disciples of the fairy dragon race over the years. You did not expect this day to come, right? Xian Ling Yuan walked over and stared at them furiously. Fairy dragon race, Venerable Star Sword, and the rest turned pale as they stared at Xian Ling Yuan in disbelief. Wang Xian did not care about their horrified expressions. He walked over and grabbed the head of a universe supremacy with his dragon claw, using soul devouring. Wang, summon your cosmos god nation. A loud voice rang in his mind. He nodded his head in a daze. Very soon, a cosmos god nation appeared at the side. After the cosmos god nation was summoned, Wang Xian absorbed some information. With a slap of his arm, he killed the cosmos god nation. What did you do? What did you do to him? At the side, Venerable Star Sword and the rest looked on in shock. Wang Xian did not say a word as he did the same thing. This filled Venerable Star Sword and the rest with despair as their bodies trembled uncontrollably. 20 minutes later, 5 cosmos god nations floated in the surroundings. 2 of them were of the lightning attribute, 2 of the darkness attribute, and 1 of the fire attribute. The 3 attribute god nations were devoured by the Dragon Palace. I have some information here. Roving Demon Sky, Roving Heavens, and the rest of the supremacies head over to the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants race and annihilate their important legions. Prime Minister Turtle, send a message on the AI to order the 2 races to release all the wyverns immediately. Otherwise, they will bear the consequences. Wang Xian instructed the members of the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and the rest nodded their heads with cold eyes. Let's move. Wang Xian nodded his head and the members of the Dragon Palace immediately moved. At this moment, within the Dragon Palace, Jiao Jiao was shocked to see the experts of the Dragon Palace annihilating 6 universe supremacies. Those were universe supremacies, high and mighty universe supremacies. Yet, they were all annihilated by the experts of the Dragon Palace. Was this the strength of the Dragon Palace? Just as Jiao Jiao was in shock, a message from the AI shocked everyone. The message was a domineering statement issued by Prime Minister Turtle, warning the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants race. Release all the wyverns you have captured immediately. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. It was a simple message, but it sent everyone into a frenzy. The Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Please collect those who like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Chapter 3130. Holy shit, the Nine Swords race isn't the only race that hunts the draconic dragon. There's also the Dragon Descendant race? Is the Dragon Palace so arrogant? He actually wanted the Nine Swords race and the Dragon race to release the hostages? How much confidence does he have? The Dragon Palace is so powerful? This is the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendant race. On the universe AI, when everyone saw Dragon Palace's statement, their faces were filled with shock. The Dragon Descendants race and the Nine Swords race were powerful races with deep roots in the Milky Way. Their strength was exceptionally terrifying. Now, the Dragon Palace actually made such a statement. They were completely looking down on the 2 major clans. Moreover, they even used a commanding tone. Moreover, some of them were puzzled. Why would the Dragon's descendants and the Nine Swords tribe deliberately oppose the Dragon Palace and hunt the Flood Dragon? Was it because they knew the strength of the Dragon Palace? Did they think that the Dragon Palace was a pushover? Or were there other reasons? A small Dragon Palace dares to be arrogant in front of us, the Dragon Descendants? How dare you order us? Ha ha ha. You've just arrived in the Milky Way, and you dare to provoke us, the Nine Swords and the Dragon Descendants? Who gave them the courage? I think that Dragon Palace has a death wish. Our Dragon Descendants and the Nine Swords can easily destroy Dragon Palace. This was especially true for the disciples of the Dragon race and the Nine Swords race. As one of the two largest races in the Milky Way, their territory was abnormally large, and the number of disciples they had was terrifying. When the disciples of the two races saw the message released by the Dragon Palace, their faces were filled with coldness and mockery. A Dragon Palace that had just come to the Milky Way to establish itself had already warned them with such a tone. They were simply courting death. All the supercomputers in the Milky Way were discussing the Dragon Palace's announcement. Most people felt that the Dragon Palace was too arrogant. With the strength of the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants race, how could a Dragon Palace that had just established itself in the Milky Way compare? However, while everyone was discussing the arrogance of the Dragon Palace on the AI, the Nine Swords tribe and the Dragon Descendants tribe were in complete chaos. At the Nine Swords race's territory, the Nine Swords race patriarch, another old man, and all peak Emperor God experts of Nine Swords gathered together. There was a trace of fear on their faces, and their expressions kept changing. The Nine Swords race had a total of 5 universe supremacies. Among them, the Nine Swords race's patriarch was the strongest. The Nine Sword race leader wasn't a level 2 universe supremacy, he was a level 1 universe supremacy. However, in the past, he had obtained a huge opportunity, and a powerful divine sword had entered his body. Right now, he was a divine sword. This allowed him, a level 1 universe venerable, to unleash the power of a level 2 universe venerable. Against a universe level 2 venerable, he was not weak at all. The 5 universe supremacies of the Nine Swords race had just received grievous news. The life plates belonging to Paragon Star Sword and the others shattered, including the group of peak Emperor God experts. The shattering of the life token signified his complete death. This filled their faces with panic and fear. What kind of strength was it to be able to directly kill 3 universe supremacies? Star Sword Paragon and the rest had fallen in the Milky Way. Thinking back to the universe AI's statement on Dragon Palace, the result was obvious. It was the Dragon Palace. The entire hall was dead silent, and one could hear a pin drop. They were all waiting for news. Patriarch, the Dragon Descendant race, has also sent news. Their Dragon Descendant universe patriarch has also fallen. At this moment, an old man beside saw the news on the universe AI. His pupils constricted as he shouted. 3 universe supremacies from the Nine Swords race had fallen, in addition to the 3 Dragon Descendant race supremacies, a total of 6. They actually died. They didn't even have the chance to escape. That Dragon Palace definitely has a rank 2 universe venerable, and it might not be just 1, there might even be 2. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been left behind. The Nine Swords race supremacy's body trembled as he clenched his fist. The reason why Dragon Palace dared to be so arrogant on the universe AI is because they have enough power, because they are not afraid of our 2 races. Unexpected, really unexpected. As he said that, he muttered softly. He had never expected Dragon Palace to be so terrifying. He had never expected that the Nine Swords race would lose 3 universe supremacies. These were universe supremacies. 3 of them had fallen, causing their power to decrease by 30%. This was a huge loss. The fall of 3 supremacies, and they had completely offended a powerful race, Dragon Palace. There might be trouble next. Race leader, there is news from the Dragon Descendant race. The Dragon Descendant race leader wishes to speak with you. At this moment, an old man beside him spoke. The Nine Swords race had lost 3 supremacies, and the Dragon Descendant race had also lost 3. In addition to the one who died not long ago, they had lost 4 supremacies in a short period of time. Although the Dragon Descendant race was strong, they were not much stronger than the Nine Swords race. They could not bear the loss of 4 supremacies. All right, I will contact them. The Nine Swords race leader took out the universe AI and waved his arm forward. Buzz. Slowly, a black fog appeared in front of them. The Nine Swords race did not stop it. The black fog condensed into a burly old man, holding a dragon bone scepter, his expression solemn. However, His expression was extremely ugly. Dragon Palace's power has exceeded our expectations, the Dragon Descendant race leader said with a gloomy expression. This time, we are in deep trouble. The Nine Swords race leader stood up slowly and sighed. The Dragon Descendant race leader fell silent. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that 6 supremacies of the universe would fall near the Dragon Palace's volcano region. Dragon Palace's power should not be enough to annihilate us. If they really had the power to suppress us, they would not have issued a warning on the AI and would have attacked us directly. A few seconds later, the Dragon Descendant race leader said, Dragon Descendant race leader, let's work together. At a time like this, only by working together can we deal with Dragon Palace and even take revenge. The Nine Swords race leader stared at him and clenched his fist. All right. The Dragon Descendant race leader did not hesitate and agreed immediately. Immediately announce on the AI that the Nine Swords race will work closely with the Dragon Descendant race. Inform all the disciples that the Nine Swords race is preparing for war. The Nine Swords race leader ordered immediately. Yes, race leader. The disciples at the side immediately carried out the order. The Dragon Descendant race will make the same announcement. Also, I suggest opening the teleportation formation between our 2 races. The Dragon Descendant race leader's eyes flickered as he said, All right. The Nine Swords race leader nodded. Opening the teleportation formation would allow them to quickly reinforce each other. Chapter 31:31. Just as everyone was discussing Dragon Palace, the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants were mocking Dragon Palace. They didn't know what was going on between the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants. But very quickly, another piece of news sent the entire Milky Way into an uproar. The Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants posted on the AI at the same time that they were forming an alliance. The moment this news came out, not only were the ordinary citizens shocked, but the other lower-level races were also shocked. The Dragon Descendants and Nine Swords race were the top lower-level races in the Milky Way. The 2 of them were forming an alliance? What were they trying to do? Dragon Palace just made an announcement for Nine Swords and the Dragon Descendants to release the Wyverns. Now the Dragon Descendants and Nine Swords have formed an alliance. Are they forming an alliance to destroy Dragon Palace? That's possible. Isn't the response of Nine Swords and the Dragon Descendants too strong? How many forces in the Milky Way can withstand the Dragon Descendants and Nine Swords alliance? Dragon Palace is going to pay the price for their arrogance. Who knows, Dragon Palace might be destroyed soon. They've just arrived in the Milky Way, and they're already so arrogant. On the AI, countless people were discussing. Even the other lower-level race disciples joined in. After this piece of news came out, another piece of news quickly spread out, which also confirmed everyone's thoughts. The Dragon Descendants and Nine Swords race had entered combat mode. It was best if they were on high alert. The moment this news came out, everyone was in an uproar. Ha ha ha, Dragon Palace should die. How dare they be so arrogant to us? It's been hundreds of millions of years since anyone dared to be so arrogant. It's going to start. It's going to start. Our Nine Swords race will form an alliance with the Dragon Descendants to destroy Dragon Palace. How dare they be arrogant to us? This is the consequence. When the disciples of both races received this news, their first reaction was that their race was going to attack Dragon Palace. Hence, they were mocking them on the AI, mocking Dragon Palace's arrogance, mocking Dragon Palace's overestimation. The others were shocked when they saw this news. As expected of a lower-level race in the Milky Way. How domineering. They were mumbling. Clan leader, there's something wrong with the information on the AI. Should we announce what we should do with the Wyverns? At the same time, some of the Nine Swords race experts were shocked when they saw the information on the AI. They did not unite to destroy the Dragon Palace. They didn't issue the highest alert to start a war. It was to prevent the Dragon Palace from attacking. If the Dragon Palace saw the information on the artificial intelligence, would they come and deal with them in advance? About the Flood Dragon? The eyes of the Nine Swords tribe leader flickered as he clenched his fists. The enmity has already been established. Moreover, the Dragon Palace has killed 3 of our venerables. How can we give the Sky Dragon to them? The powerhouse from the Nine Swords race nodded his head slightly. The enmity between them and the Dragon Palace had been established. Putting aside the matter of the Crescent Moon mystic realm, just the fact that 3 supremacies had been killed was enough to make them irreconcilable. This is bad, Patriarch. This is bad. Our Heavenly Sword Corps has been annihilated. The experts of our Shadow Sword Corps have also been annihilated. Hundreds of thousands of life tokens have been destroyed. They are all disciples of the various corps. Suddenly, at this moment, an extremely panicked voice sounded from outside. An old man walked in a panic, his face pale as he roared. What? The Patriarch of the 9 Swords race, who was sitting at the top of the hall, had a drastic change in expression. He stood up suddenly with bloodshot eyes. The few strong corps of the 9 Swords race have been annihilated. They were all killed without a sound. The life tokens of hundreds of thousands of disciples have been destroyed. They were all Emperor God-level disciples. The old man who came to report said with a panicked expression. The Heavenly Sword Corps and Shadow Sword Corps were the secret corps of the 9 Swords race. They were also the strongest corps of the 9 Swords race. Now that they had been annihilated all of a sudden, it was definitely done by a universe supremacy level expert. Moreover, given the strength of the 2 corps, it was definitely not done by a universe supremacy. The loss of their elite army was equally terrifying. These disciples were their elites, the core of their army. They were their main fighting power. Now that they had been annihilated, it was enough to hurt the 9 Swords race deeply. Do you know who did it? The Patriarch of the 9 Swords race turned pale as he asked. No, I don't know. It should be Dragon Palace. Only they have this power. The old man guessed. Without the old man's reply, the Patriarch of the 9 Swords race also guessed that it was done by Dragon Palace. It could only be them. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes slightly. The positions of the 2 corps were very secretive. They were even personally led by their supremacies. Only they could mobilize the 2 corps, and only they knew the specific dangers of the 2 corps. Clearly, Dragon Palace had obtained some information from Supremacy Star Sword. He slowly opened his eyes and took out the universe AI to send a message to the Dragon Race Patriarch. In the end, he received the same message. The Dragon Race had also been attacked. They had suffered a horrifying attack. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers from their core corps had been killed. When the 9 Swords race and the Dragon Race knew that their core corps had been killed, they fell silent. Patriarch, Dragon Palace has made a statement. Dragon Palace has declared war on the 9 Swords race and the Dragon Race. They will hunt down the disciples of our 2 races. At this moment, another piece of news came, causing the 9 Swords race Patriarch's face to change. Fuck, Dragon Palace has declared war on the 9 Swords race and the Dragon Race. Are they going to fight? 666. Putting everything else aside, Dragon Palace is really ferocious. The Dragon Race and the 9 Swords race had just teamed up to annihilate them, and they immediately declared war. You won't die if you don't court death? I feel like Dragon Palace is courting death. At the same time, countless people saw another message from Dragon Palace on the AI and were in an uproar. All of them began to watch the news excitedly. Speaking of which, the Milky Way had not been this lively for a long time. Some of the other primary races in the universe were also happy to sit on the sidelines and watch the tigers fight. At the same time, they could also see the true strength of Dragon Palace. After all, the sudden appearance of a primary race in the Milky Way would definitely give them some resources. Now that they were fighting, it was a good thing for the other primary races in the universe. You won't die if you don't court death? Within Dragon Palace, Wang Xian looked at the information on the AI and the messages sent by Tianjun and the others. His face turned cold. He wanted to see who was the one courting death. Chapter 31-32. The 2 races bow their heads. Damn it. Damn it. Does Dragon Palace really think we're pushovers? In the 9 Swords race's main hall, the 9 Swords race leader looked at the message on the AI with a furious expression. In a short period of time, they had first ordered them to release the wyverns, and now they were declaring war on them. Did they really think that the 2 races were pushovers? The 9 Swords race leader's expression changed and his eyes were cold. But slowly, he revealed a trace of helplessness. The 9 Swords race had a deep foundation and countless disciples. They didn't even know how many disciples Dragon Palace had. If Dragon Palace really hunted their disciples, the entire Nine Swords race would be in a state of panic. He turned on the AI and spoke with the dragon race leader for a while. Announce on the AI that we will release all the wyverns. A few minutes later, the Nine Swords race leader announced. The rest of the Nine Swords race experts were silent for a while and nodded. With the current trend on the AI, once the Nine Swords race made such an announcement, it was obvious that they were afraid. But if they didn't release the wyverns and Dragon Palace hunted their disciples, how could they resist? They had so many disciples and so many planets. With their current strength, they couldn't take care of them all. If a universe supremacy from Dragon Palace attacked, he could destroy a planet in an instant. They couldn't resist at all. The experts of the Nine Swords race looked at each other and immediately went to make the announcement. The Nine Swords race will immediately release all the wyverns in hopes of developing peacefully with Dragon Palace. A piece of information was released, and everyone was confused. What was going on? The dragon race will immediately release all the wyverns in hopes of developing peacefully with Dragon Palace. However, very quickly, the dragon descendants also released a message that caused everyone to boil, especially the ordinary disciples of the Nine Swords race and the dragon race. They were just mocking Dragon Palace on the AI and saying that they were courting death and would soon be destroyed. Now, their race actually made such an announcement. Everyone was very clear about the message in this statement. What's going on? What's going on? Oh my God! The dragon race and the Nine Swords race made such an announcement. Are they bowing to Dragon Palace? They're obviously bowing to Dragon Palace by making such an announcement. Then the previous announcement, the dragon race and the Nine Swords race allied to attack Dragon Palace? Was it for self-protection? Everyone was discussing fervently on the AI. The change this time was too great. It was so loud that no one could react in time. How powerful was the Dragon Palace? How could he make the dragon's descendants and the Nine Swords bow their heads? Ferocious dragon crossing the river? At the same time, in front of the Wangyin mainland, dozens of drakes were brought here by the powerhouses of the Nine Swords race and released. The dozens of sky dragons looked at each other in shock. What's going on? The people of the Nine Swords race actually let us go. What's going on? A middle-aged man watched in disbelief as the powerhouses of the Nine Swords race left. I don't know. A woman shook her head. Guys, look. The Nine Swords race has really released all the wyverns. Hiss. Just how much pressure did they have to endure? A single statement from the Dragon Palace actually made them release all the wyverns they had hunted. The strength of the Dragon Palace is definitely terrifying. Otherwise, with the strength of the Dragon Descendant and Nine Swords, they wouldn't be afraid of joining forces. At this moment, the sounds of discussion could be heard from the surroundings. The group of wyverns widened their eyes when they heard the voices from the surroundings. They were shocked. Dragon Palace? It's the Dragon Palace? When they heard the discussions, they were extremely excited. Let's go. Let's go to the Dragon Palace. Let's go to the Dragon Palace. The group of wyverns was extremely excited. They were hunted down by the Nine Swords race and released just because of a single statement from the Dragon Palace. One could imagine how powerful the Dragon Palace was. With such a powerful Dragon Palace as their backing, they would no longer have to be afraid. The group of wyverns immediately flew towards the Dragon Palace. This time, no one dared to stop them. At the side of the dragon's descendants, a group of wyverns was also flying towards the Dragon Palace with excitement. Dragon King, the two major races have announced the release of all the wyverns. They have given in. In the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Turtle came to the Dragon King Hall and reported to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly, squinted his eyes and asked, "When will Aosia and the rest complete their breakthroughs?" "I contacted them a few days ago. Based on Aosia's guess, they will complete their breakthroughs in about a month." Prime Minister Turtle replied. Aosia and the rest were currently devouring the Crescent Moon God Kingdom. A rank 3 Universe God Kingdom could allow Aosia and the other 3 devouring dragons to reach the Second Order Universe Venerable Realm. After Aosia and the rest advanced, the number of Second Order Universe Venerables in the Dragon Palace would reach 6. A month. Just nice. This time, Sky Array and the rest have obtained a large number of corpses. It will greatly improve our members. After a month, when Aosia and the rest advance, we will attack the Nine Swords and the dragon's descendants. Wang Xian's eyes were cold. According to the information left behind by the Crescent Moon Venerable, the Nine Swords and the dragon's descendants both had second-order universe venerables. Moreover, they had established their foothold in the Milky Way for billions of years. Their headquarters would definitely have strong defenses. Given their current strength, it would be extremely difficult to attack the two major races. They could only wait for Aosia and the rest to break through. This time, Sky Array and the rest had hunted the core armies of the Nine Swords and the dragon's descendants, killing hundreds of thousands of god emperors. As the elites and core armies of the two major races, their strength was not lower than a fourth-order god emperor. These corpses could greatly improve the strength of the members of the Dragon Palace. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. His eyes shone brightly as he left. This was the first battle since the Dragon Palace entered the Milky Way. It was also the first battle of the Dragon Palace in the center of the universe. Over the next few days, all members of the Dragon Palace entered the Dragon Transformation Pool to improve. On the third day, the alternative dragons arrived at the front of the Dragon Palace. They passed the Dragon Gate and joined the Dragon Palace. Over the next few days, more and more alternative dragons headed to the Dragon Palace. The two major races bowed to the Dragon Palace, boosting the reputation of the Dragon Palace. At this time, no one dared to offend the Dragon Palace. Time passed day by day. Half a month later, the improvement of the members of the Dragon Palace ended. The number of fifth-order god emperors and above reached a terrifying 200,000. The rest of the Dragon Palace members had broken through to the god emperor realm. Millions of Dragon Palace god emperors. Chapter 31-33. The Dragon Palace is here to exterminate them. Upper, all members of Dragon Palace, get ready. A month later, an order was issued throughout the Dragon Palace. Disciples immediately flew to the dragon field located in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian stood quietly in front of the dragon field. The leaders of Dragon Palace stood at the forefront. The leaders of the Berserk Dragons, Roving Heavens, and Ao Qi. The leader of the Dragon Palace Dragon Guards, Roving Sword, Ao Fenghuang. The leader of the Heavenly Lightning and Earthly Fire Dragon and Phoenix species. The leader of the Spiky Dragons, Roving Demon. The leader of the Arrow Dragons, Mao Zisen. Ao Xingmu. The leader of the Starwood Dragons. The leader of the Imperial Dragon species, Ao Tuesday. The leader of the Venomous Horn Dragons, Yamada no Demon Fiend. Dragon Magi. The leader of the Dragon species, Heavenly Formation. The support members of the Fairy Dragon Clan and the Dolphin Clan. This was a group of combat dragons from the Dragon Palace. The Fire Hammer Clan did not participate. A total of 500,000 members of the Dragon Palace flew over quickly. Greetings, Dragon King. Members of Dragon Palace came to the Dragon Field and lined up neatly. They bowed respectfully and loudly. Today is the day of the expedition against the Dragon Descendants. All members, prepare yourselves. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the group of Dragon Palace members and shouted in a deep voice, "Fight!" The disciples of Dragon Palace raised their arms and shouted, "All right, let's go." Wang Xian narrowed his eyes and ordered, "Woo-woo, woo-woo." A roar came from the side. Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai swayed their huge bodies and let out a low roar. So. One by one, the members moved and immediately flew toward Xiao Lan's body. Wang Xian moved and landed on Xiao Lan's body. On the other side, Ao Xia landed on Little Blue's body. "Depart." Wang Xian replied plainly, "Woo-woo, woo-woo. Fight, fight, fight." Xiaolin roared and immediately flew out of the Dragon Palace. Dragon Descendant, 9 Swords. Do you really think that the Dragon Palace will just let it go? Wang Xian stared ahead with a cold look in his eyes. In this 1 month, the Dragon Palace didn't make any announcements on the universe artificial intelligence, nor did they make any movements. He had been waiting for this day. He had promised the Fairy Dragon Clan that he would destroy the 9 swords of the Dragon Clan and the Skeleton Clan. Now, it was time to start with the 9 Swords race, the Dragon Descendant race. Aosia and the rest had completed their upgrades. This time, the Dragon Palace had mobilized all its elite forces. I can finally take revenge. The Dragonkin race, the Nine Swords race, has killed many of our Wyvern brothers and sisters. This time, we can finally make them pay the price. Ha ha ha, this day has finally arrived. Back then, my father was hunted down by the Nine Swords race. To think that I would be able to take revenge one day. On Xiaolan's body, behind the disciples of Dragon Palace, there was a group of Dragon Palace members. They were the members who joined the Dragon Palace in the past month. At this moment, they were filled with excitement, and their faces were filled with murderous intent. Here in the Milky Way, the Flood Dragon with the divine dragon bloodline lived in fear, not daring to reveal its identity. Many of their elders had been hunted down and killed by the descendants of the Nine Swords. Now that they saw such a powerful Dragon Palace and their powerful background, all of them were excited. Everyone in the Fairy Dragon clan felt the same. Revenge. Make them pay in blood. Little Blue and Little Zoe were now more than 600 kilometers long. From afar, they looked like a huge island. They contained a terrifying aura. Now, they had the strength of a rank 1 universe supremacy. Their huge bodies and unique talents made them extremely fast. Little Blue and Little Zoe appeared in the sky above the Milky Way. They opened their mouths and a black hole appeared. Then, they entered and disappeared. When they appeared again, they had traveled a long distance. This terrifying speed left universe venerable rank 1 existences completely in the dust. The Nine Swords race and the Dragonkin race were very far apart. The Dragonkin race was located on the right side of the Wangyin mainland. Their lair was located in a void mountain range. The mountain range that was suspended in the void was in a row. It was like a divine dragon lying in the void, hidden in the clouds. The entire lair of the Dragonkin race was unusually vast. This territory had been operated by the entire Dragonkin race for hundreds of millions of years. There was a hidden power in it. Around this mountain range were the planets of the Dragonkin race. They were densely packed in the starry sky. They were like stars in the starry sky. Wang Xian's first target was the Dragonkin race. Firstly, the Dragonkin race was stronger. Secondly, the Dragonkin race had thunder sacred feathers. Previously, when he killed the 3 supremacies of the Dragonkin race, he only obtained 6 thunder sacred feathers from them. Now, he had a total of 14 with him. However, he was still short of 35 to collect. He wanted to see if the remaining sacred feathers were with the Dragonkin race. Little Blue and Little Zoe traversed the sky above the Milky Way rapidly. Their speed was abnormally terrifying. Even a universe supremacy would need to fly for 2 days. However, they took about 10 hours to reach the edge of the Milky Way. In the starry sky at the edge of the Milky Way, stars appeared in their sight. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the void in front of him. Wang. Little Blue opened its mouth and a black hole appeared again. They entered it one after another. What kind of giant space beast is this? Oh my god. It's so huge. SSS, black hole. Those 2 giant space beasts broke a black hole and entered it. What kind of superpower is this? At this moment, there were more people at the edge of the Milky Way. When Little Blue, Little Zoe and Little Zoe appeared, everyone was shocked. That huge body, that savage might, caused people to tremble. That giant beast looks like the one from the Immortal Palace War Pet Auction. However, it looks much bigger. Some experts looked at the familiar figure and guessed doubtfully. Soon, the news of 2 huge giant space beasts that were suspected to be at the universe supremacy level spread rapidly. Dragon King, we're almost there. As they continued traversing the starry sky, they were getting closer to the base camp of the Dragonkin race. Prime Minister Turtle looked at the map and said to Wang Xian, "Enter their base camp directly and eliminate the 2 universe supremacies from the Dragonkin race." Wang Xian's eyes flickered coldly as he ordered. Woo woo woo. Upon hearing Wang Xian's command, another black hole appeared in front of Little Blue. He dived down directly. Ka ka ka. In the next moment, they appeared in the sky above a huge mountain range. However, as soon as they appeared, a dark energy rumbled in the surrounding space and landed on Lil Blue's body. Little Blue's body shook slightly, and the law of darkness collapsed immediately. Woo woo woo. He let out a furious roar, and a wave of barbaric power rushed downwards. The terrifying aura caused the wind and clouds in the entire space to change. Dragon Palace is here to annihilate the Dragonkin race. Wang Xian stared down and said coldly. Chapter 31-34. The Dragon Palace is here to annihilate the clan below. The Dragon Palace is here to annihilate the clan. A cold and dignified voice rang out, spreading throughout the entire mountain range of the dragon race's base camp. The sudden appearance of Shaolan's residents immediately attracted everyone's attention. Their sudden appearance immediately put the entire dragon clan on high alert. Huh? What? The Dragon Palace is here to annihilate the clan? The Dragon Palace is here to attack us? Look above. Are those two galactic beasts from the Dragon Palace? Below them was the base camp of the Dragon Clan. When the disciples below saw the beasts that covered the starry sky, they were shocked. All members of the Dragon Palace, prepare to attack. Wang Xian barked and ordered. Boom, boom, boom. In the next moment, the 500,000 members of the Dragon Palace flew down from Shaolan's residence. Without the slightest hesitation, beams of mighty energy bombarded the ground below. Wang Xian waved his arm, and a crescent moon rose into the sky. Images appeared before him. Combining the information in his mind, he fixed his eyes on a mountain peak ahead. Seal that place. He waved his arm. Yes, Dragon King. Tianjun, Aosia, and the rest did not hesitate and immediately attacked that mountain peak. Oh no, the Dragon Palace is attacking. Damn it. How dare the Dragon Palace attack the Dragon Clan and our Dragon Mountain? Do they think we are pushovers? From below, the mighty energy landed on the mountain peak. All the disciples of the Dragon Clan were shocked as they quickly dodged to the side. Wang. At this moment, on the peak at the center of the Dragon Mountain, the patriarch of the Dragon Tribe and two elders moved and instantly appeared in a hall at the top of the mountain. They stood in the main hall and raised their heads to look at their surroundings. Their faces were filled with embarrassment. The Dragon Palace is attacking us. They are attacking us directly. The clan leader of the dragon's descendants had a violent look on his face. Looking at the experts from Dragon Palace who were attacking them, his eyes were filled with coldness. Activate the defensive array. Activate the Dragon Mountain. We, the Dragon Clan, have been in the universe for hundreds of millions of years. Do you think we are pushovers? Dragon Palace? Do they really think they can annihilate us? Kill. Kill. Beside him, a dragon descendant race universe venerable stared at the sky and roared. Inform the Nine Swords tribe and ask them to send reinforcements. If we are destroyed, the Dragon Palace will definitely attack the Nine Swords tribe. The other universe venerable roared with an incomparably gloomy expression. They had never expected the Dragon Palace to attack them. According to their speculations, the Dragon Palace was not powerful enough to invade them. But now, the army of Dragon Palace was here. However, the dragon descendants had existed for billions of years, and they were not to be trifled with. It wasn't like he didn't have any foundation. This was especially true for their headquarters. After billions of years of operation, this place had long been built into an impenetrable fortress. Dragon Mountain, move. Let's go out and fight. The patriarch of the Dragon Clan roared coldly. His figure moved and instantly appeared outside the palace. All disciples of the dragon race, prepare to face the enemy. All experts, organize yourselves and fight. Dragon Palace, our dragon descendants have been established in the universe for so long. How can we be destroyed so easily? Today, we will make you pay the price. The clan leader of the dragon race shouted as he stared coldly at the sky array roving crab and the others who were charging over. His pupils constricted as he felt their aura. 2 level 2 universe venerables? He focused his gaze and roared again. Dragon Mountain, rise, rumble, roar, roar. As the roar resounded, the entire mountain range let out a deafening roar. The humongous mountain range actually rose slowly, and a terrifying aura flew out from the mountain range. In front, a mountain that looked like the head of a dragon lifted its head and stared at Sky Array, Roving Crab, and the others. The entire mountain range seemed to have come to life. Rumble. The mountain range, spanning tens of thousands of kilometers, headed straight for Sky Array roving crab. Roar. Roar. You are not qualified to make us pay the price. Your dragon race actually dared to chase after our Dragon King and hunt the Sky Dragon. Today, we will make you disappear from the universe. Sky Array looked at the mountain range that was emitting a terrifying aura. His eyes flashed with coldness. He waved his arm and a majestic array was formed. At the side, Roving Crab transformed into a devouring dragon and attacked the patriarch of the dragon race. Humph, you want to destroy us? Today, I will show you the full power of the dragon race. The patriarch of the dragon race moved and flew to the head of the mountain range. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He held the dragon bone scepter in his hand and waved it at Roving Crab. With just 2 level 2 universe supremacies, you still want to destroy us, the dragon descendants? Dream on. Boom. Within the dragon bone scepter, a blood mist formed into the shape of a divine dragon and attacked Roving Crab. 2. Roar. Roar. Roving Crab's eyes were filled with disdain. With a shake of his body, roars could be heard coming from his body. 3 devouring dragons that looked exactly the same as him flew out of his body. Roar. One of the devouring dragons looked at the divine dragon formed by the blood mist and swung its terrifying claws. Boom. The blood mist dissipated. Little ones, kill him for me. Roving Crab laughed sinisterly. With a roar, he attacked the patriarch of the dragon race. Around him, the 3 devouring dragons stood on both sides, emitting a towering aura. What? 4 level 2 universe supremacies. Seeing the devouring dragons flying out of Roving Crab's body, the patriarch's face changed. No wonder they dared to invade our dragon race. So they have 5 level 2 universe supremacies. His face was ugly. With a wave of the dragon bone scepter, the mountain range below him shot out huge peaks towards them. Array. Cleansing candle. At this moment, the heavenly array formed behind them. A beam of light energy that could purify everything swept forward. The entire void was shrouded by the blinding light. Damn it, that fella is a powerful array master. His expression changed, and the mountain range below him formed a defensive wall. Wong. As the light swept across, the patriarch of the dragon race was filled with fear. The strength of the enemy was beyond their imagination. Black screen array. Activate. At this moment, a cold roar could be heard from the side. Waves of black mist surged out of the mountain range and spread towards the sky. The black mist formed into demonic dragons that looked like vengeful spirits and shrouded over everyone in the dragon palace. The remaining 2 universe supremacies of the dragon race controlled the array. Their eyes swept across the patriarch with an ugly expression. Chapter 31-35. You can search for Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System on Baidu. Ingenious Brush Pavilion. To find the latest chapter. Darkness descended on the sky-connecting array. The thousands of miles of mountain range turned into a huge mountain beast. When the dragon palace attacked, the dragon descendants immediately unleashed their strongest defense. As a race that had been around for billions of years, the treasures they guarded were exceptionally strong. Be it the sky-connecting array or the terrifying mountain beast, they had the ability to go against a rank 2 universe supremacy. Furthermore, within the sky-connecting Great Array, the powerhouses of the Dragon Clan would be able to unleash even greater might. Break the array. Above, when Prime Minister Turtle saw the terrifying array rising in an instant, he immediately let out a shout. Break. Break the array. Aochi-tian, Aochi, and the rest of the universe supremacies charged towards the black screen array. They waved the divine weapons in their hands and blasted forward. Rumble. The entire black screen array was torn apart. However, the black screen array continued to rise in other places. Kill, kill, kill. Kill everyone in the Dragon Palace. Kill this bunch of bastards who dared to invade us. Countless angry roars from the dragon descendants could be heard from below. Their eyes were filled with violent, murderous intent. Although the dragon descendants had a secret army that had been destroyed by the dragon palace, the strength of the secret army was at most 30 to 40% of the entire race's strength. They still had a lot of experts. It was especially so in their base camp, Dragon Peak. The moment the dragon descendants were attacked, all the core disciples received the news and rushed back immediately. Tens of millions of elites attacked the 500,000 members of the Dragon Palace. Arrow Dragon species, let's show these guys how powerful we are. Prime Minister Turtle's eyes were cold when he saw the countless experts of the dragon descendants below. He waved his arm. Swish, 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 swish. In an instant, countless densely packed arrows covered the area below. The terrifying arrows carried the power of wind and thunder. The arrows condensed into an incomparably huge divine dragon and blasted downwards. Boom, boom, boom. Horrifying explosions could be heard. Defend, defend immediately. An expert of the dragon descendants bellowed from below. Bam, bam, bam. In the sky, an incomparably powerful door of darkness appeared. When the arrows landed on it, the door of darkness collapsed rapidly. Brothers, charge. A universe venerable rank berserk dragon roared and charged downwards. Kill, kill. The Starwood dragon species, Heaven Lightning Earth and Fire dragon phoenix species, Imperial dragon species, and other dragon species led the charge. Among the 500,000 Dragon Palace members, none of them were weaker than a Fourth Order universe venerable. Among them, there were more than 50 peak Emperor gods in Dragon Palace. War Machine, Dragon Cannon. A loud roar came from below. Ka ka ka. Soon after, gigantic black cannons appeared one after another on the mountain peaks below. The head of the cannon was like the head of a divine dragon, and a terrifying energy was brewing on it. The strength of a race didn't just depend on the strength of its disciples, it also depended on the powerful war machines that guarded the race. The dragon cannon was specially prepared for war. A single shot could obliterate a planet. Thousands of dragon cannons were aimed at all the members of Dragon Palace. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying bombardment rang out. Imperial dragon species, defend? Looking at the terrifying attack of the dragon cannon, Prime Minister Turtle frowned slightly and immediately ordered, Imperial dragon under the heavens? Imperial dragon under the heavens. All the Imperial dragon species let out a low roar, and a khaki dragon gate rose, blocking in front of them. Boom, boom, boom. Loud explosions rang out, and the entire sky changed color. Wong, defend. A venerable realm Imperial dragon narrowed his eyes when he saw that the defense they released was quickly destroyed. A khaki divine dragon drew a line and left behind a solid defense. But even so, his defense gradually cracked and collapsed. Thousands of dragon cannons were enough to kill a First Order universe venerable. This was the foundation of the dragon descendants. Indeed, a force that has stood strong for billions of years. It's not to be underestimated. Wang Xian looked over, and his eyes shone brightly. After killing 6 venerables from the dragon descendants and 9 swords race, the Dragon Palace's venerable level combat power had reached 33. Even if he, Prime Minister Turtle, and Xiaolan didn't make a move, there were more than 20 venerables. More than 20 venerables couldn't defeat the dragon descendants in an instant. One could only imagine how strong their foundation was. Every race's base camp is exceptionally sturdy. Prime Minister Turtle chimed in and looked around, but it's only a matter of time before they are destroyed. Wang Xian nodded plainly. What? The dragon descendants sent a reinforcement message. The Dragon Palace has invaded their race. At this moment, at the faraway 9 Swords race, the leader of the 9 Swords race looked at the message sent by the leader of the dragon descendants in shock. The Dragon Palace had gone to attack the dragon descendants. This, 9 Swords race, sword troop, get ready. Follow me to support the dragon descendants. A figure quickly spread across the 9 Swords race. Upon hearing this voice, everyone in the 9 Swords race was shocked. The remaining universe paragon immediately flew into the hall, his face filled with a solemn expression. Leader, the dragon descendants. As he spoke, the leader of the 9 Swords race nodded, and his face was unusually bitter. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, experts from the 9 Swords race flew over from the front of the main hall. After the alliance between the Nine Swords race and the dragon descendants, they had established an army to deal with any situation. The Sword Troop was a powerful army that the Nine Swords race had established in advance. After the two secret armies were destroyed, the Sword Troop became the strongest combat army of the Nine Swords race. Let's go. Head to the dragon descendants immediately. The leader of the Nine Swords race looked across all the disciples and shouted. Now that the dragon descendants were under attack, it would be their turn to face the Nine Swords race once they were annihilated. At this time, he had no choice but to provide support. The group of people moved and immediately flew towards the teleportation formation. Now that the teleportation formation between the two races had been opened, they could be transported directly to the dragon descendants. The Dragon Palace has invaded the dragon descendants. In the land of the Nine Swords tribe, everyone watched in shock as their tribe leader led a group of experts to support the dragon's descendants. The Dragon Palace had invaded the dragon descendants. Nine Swords is here to provide support. At the same time, within the dragon descendants, the leader of the Nine Swords race led 1,000,000 disciples out. They looked across the entire battlefield and shouted. Chapter 31-36. The experts from the Nine Swords race are here. The Nine Swords race has come to support us. Kill those invaders from Dragon Palace. Ha ha ha, kill. When the group of experts from the dragon race heard the voice of the Nine Swords race patriarch, their faces lit up with excitement. Although the Dragon Palace was strong, it was not strong enough to destroy them easily. With the support of the Nine Swords tribe, they would definitely be able to withstand the attack of the Dragon Palace. Patriarch Jujian, help me. The dragon descendant patriarch heaved a sigh of relief when he heard the voice. He looked at the experts of Dragon Palace in front of him with an embarrassed expression, his hair turning white. A portion of the mountain beast beneath him had already collapsed. If he continued to fight, the entire mountain beast would collapse. At that time, he would also be besieged by the experts of Dragon Palace. All right, the patriarch of the Nine Swords tribe replied. His eyes swept over and his pupils constricted. 5 Level 2 Universe Venerables. His heart sank and his face was filled with fear. He moved and flew toward the patriarch of the dragon tribe. He was like a sharp sword that could cut through the sky, emitting a terrifying and dangerous aura. Humph, I didn't expect you Nine Swords to come here. Just in time. I'll wipe out both your races in one go. When Tianjun saw Patriarch Nine Swords flying over, his eyes flashed with coldness. Destroy our 2 clans? Dragon Palace, don't be so arrogant. The clan leader of the Nine Swords clan roared with a sinister look on his face. A dazzling divine sword covered in lightning shot out of his body. Crash! The divine sword streaked across the sky and attacked the heavenly formation. Tianjun revealed a solemn look on his face. He waved his hand and one formation after another blasted upwards. Boom! A violent collision sound rang out. Dragon King. On Xiaolan's body, Prime Minister Turtle frowned when he saw the arrival of the experts from the Nine Swords race. Do it. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and locked onto the Nine Swords race universe venerable. As his voice fell, his figure instantly disappeared. Woo woo woo. Xiaolan and the others received the order and let out a low groan. A terrifying voice resounded throughout the world. Their gigantic bodies slammed into the mountain peak below. Not good. Brothers of the Nine Swords, help us resist these 2 terrifying giant star beasts. Down below, the group of elders and protectors of the dragon race saw that Xiaolan's residence was moving. Their expressions changed as they immediately shouted at the disciples and experts of the Nine Swords race. You want us to deal with 2 universe supremacy level space beasts? The 1,000,000 experts of the Nine Swords race looked over, and their expressions changed slightly. Attack. Stop them. However, the experts of the Nine Swords race did not reject. They had a universe paragon, 30 peak Emperor God experts, and other elite disciples. It could completely contend against 2 universe venerables. Leave this one to me. The rest are yours. The Nine Sword race's rank 1 venerable was surrounded by divine swords as he stared coldly at Xiaolan. Clang, clang, clang. He waved his arm and countless divine swords appeared in the sky. They covered Little Blue and directly attacked. Crash! Pooh! It's not your turn to perish yet, and you're already seeking death? Suddenly, the Nine Swords Race's universe venerable froze. His eyes widened and were filled with horror. Wang Xian's figure appeared behind him, and the dragon claw penetrated his body. With his current speed, if a rank 1 universe venerable was not fully prepared, he would definitely be killed in one strike. Not good. Soul Sword Venerable is dead. Sir Venerable. All of a sudden, Wang Xian appeared behind a venerable and killed him instantly. Not far away, the million experts of the Nine Swords race were slightly shocked as they witnessed this scene. How can this be? The Nine Swords race had just arrived and joined the battle. In the end, one of their venerables was killed in one strike? That was a venerable of the Nine Swords race. One of the only 2 venerables left. Wang. Seeing Soul Sword Venerable's corpse being kept, everyone from the Nine Swords race trembled and were on the verge of collapsing. A venerable who had just arrived was killed in one strike. What about them? At this time, there was still a rank 2 universe venerable hunting them down. What was the dragon race doing? Woo. At this time, Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai rushed over. Their terrifying aura made everyone shudder. Attack! Attack! Everyone from the Nine Swords race was shocked as they roared. Rumble. In the next instant, the sky was filled with terrifying attacks towards Xiao Lan and Xiao Zhai. Their bodies exuded a grayish energy as they trembled slightly. Boom. Before the attacks could land on them, they were turned into nothingness. Xiao Zhai and Xiao Lan were also the pinnacle void beasts in the universe, Kuin. With their current strength, they could kill a rank 1 universe venerable in a one-on-one battle. How could they be a match for them? Oh no, Dragon Race, come and support us. Seeing this, the leader of the Nine Swords race shouted in horror. Immediately, one of the commanding elders from the Dragon Race noticed the situation over here. His heart skipped a beat as he had a bad feeling about this. But at this time, they could not find the time to support them. Immediately my *S. All disciples of the Nine Swords race, run! The leader of the Nine Swords race was furious as he roared. There was no time for hesitation in the face of a space beast at the rank of a venerable. Either they could resist it, or all of them would die. Not to mention, there was an existence that could kill a venerable in an instant. At this moment, he did not hesitate and gave the order to escape. At the same time, he waved his arm and a sword umbrella rose into the air, enveloping all the disciples of the Nine Swords race. It propped up a space for them to prevent them from being interrupted. The sword umbrella contained a strong aura and was obviously an acquired spiritual treasure. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next instant, all the disciples of the Nine Swords race fled. All of them fled. Wang Xian, who was not far away, was shocked as he watched. Fuck. Some of the experts from the Dragon Clan glanced over, and their expressions were extremely ugly. Damn it. How did this happen? There's still a rank 2 universe venerable in the Dragon Palace? At the center, the leader of the Nine Swords race roared with bloodshot eyes when he sensed the fall of the Soul Sword Venerable. The leader of the Dragon race looked over and his heart skipped a beat. Both your races have to be annihilated. Wang Xian looked at the leaders of the 2 races and said coldly. As soon as he finished his sentence, he flew towards them. What a fast speed! Sensing Wang Xian's terrifying speed, the leader of the Nine Swords race clenched his fists tightly as his eyes glistened. Buzz! In the next instant, his figure started to turn illusory. Chapter 31-37. Patriarch Zhu Jin. The figure of the Nine Swords Patriarch started to turn illusory, and the expression of the dragon descendant Patriarch changed drastically. However, before he could react, the Nine Swords clan head's figure disappeared. It had only been a few minutes since the Nine Swords race had arrived, and they had all escaped. The fact that Wang Xian had killed a universe supremacy from the Nine Swords race had sent chills down their spines. Of the entire Nine Swords tribe, 4 supremacies had been killed. Now, only the tribe leader was left. Moreover, He also knew that the strength of the Dragon Palace was much more terrifying than they had imagined. Including Wang Xian, there were a total of 6 Level 2 Universe Venerables. 6. A total of 6. This was no longer something they could contend against. Not to mention the number of Level 1 supremacies in the Dragon Palace universe. They couldn't contend against this power. He also knew the consequences of escaping. However, clan leader Zhujian had already thought it through. Once he returned, he would immediately lead his clansmen to escape to prevent the Dragon Palace from invading. The Dragon descendants were completely finished. The Nine Swords race could at least leave behind some seeds. Damn it! Seeing the patriarch of the Nine Swords clan flee, the patriarch of the Dragon clan felt his heart skip a beat. He looked at Wang Xian, who was charging towards him, with fear in his eyes. His gaze swept across the surroundings. This time, the Dragon descendants were doomed. Dragon eyes lock everywhere. At the thought of Wang Xian's cold voice, chains began to lock down the surroundings. Roving Crab and the rest raised their heads and roared furiously. The 4 devouring dragons charged forward. The heavenly formation was immediately set up. Even if the Dragon descendants and the mountain beast beneath them were incomparably powerful, they still had to kill them today. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. After Lil Blue made its move, the situation in the surrounding area changed drastically. They swayed their huge bodies and began to attack the surrounding black screen formation. The entire formation began to crumble bit by bit. In an instant, Dragon Palace gained the upper hand. At the same time, the news of the Dragon Palace invading the Dragon descendants had spread throughout the Milky Way. The news came from the Nine Swords race and the Dragonkin race. When everyone heard the news, their faces were filled with shock. What's going on? The war has begun? Did the Dragon Palace attack the Dragon descendants? This is too fierce. Directly attack the Dragon descendants? How powerful is the Dragon Palace? Those 2 void behemoths are carrying the Dragon Palace to the Dragon descendants? What is the relationship between the Dragon Palace and the battle pet of the Immortal Palace? I heard that the Nine Swords race has gone to reinforce the Dragon race. What's the situation now? The Dragon descendants are a force that has stood in the Milky Way for billions of years. How could they be destroyed so easily? Moreover, they have the support of the Nine Swords race. On the brain, the war that had suddenly erupted caused everyone to discuss it. Everyone was shocked by the strength and power of the Dragon Palace. A month ago, he had declared war. Now, he was going to kill his way over. How terrifying. However, just as everyone was discussing amongst themselves, news came from the Nine Swords tribe. The leader of the Nine Swords race announced that all the core disciples were to return to the clan and prepare to flee to another part of the void. When everyone in the Milky Way received this news, their faces were filled with shock. The Nine Swords race actually fled? What was going on? Is the Dragon race going to be exterminated? The Nine Swords race is fleeing. This is definitely an undefeatable existence. Didn't they just go to support the Dragon race? Could it be that the Dragon Palace was too powerful? That they weren't their match? That's definitely the case. Otherwise, why would they leave the place where they had stood for billions of years? What about the Dragon race? Is the Dragon race going to be exterminated? When they received this news, everyone was shocked, especially the group of primary races and other domain-level races. If the Dragon Palace really exterminated the Dragon race, it meant that the Dragon Palace's strength was at the top of the Milky Way. They had to make some preparations against such a powerful race. The group of universe races hesitated for a moment before immediately sending their venerable level existences to the Dragon race to investigate the situation. Not good, not good. Those 2 space beasts are too terrifying. There are too many venerable level existences in the Dragon Palace. Our black screen array is about to collapse. At this moment, at the Dragon race's location, 2 Dragon race venerables were controlling the clan protection array to attack the venerables of the Dragon Palace. However, at this time, the addition of Xiao Lan caused the collapse of the black screen array to accelerate. Once the black screen array completely collapsed, the 2 of them would have to face the venerables of the Dragon Palace. With their strength, they would be easily killed. The difference is too huge. We, the Dragon race, can't resist at all. A universe venerable said with an incomparably pale face that was drenched in cold sweat. No, no, no. Stop them, stop them. At this moment, a terrified voice was heard from the side. The group of dragon race experts were using the dragon cannon to attack the 500,000 members of the Dragon Palace. However, suddenly, a strange dark figure appeared around the dragon cannon. Their strange silhouettes quickly harvested the experts of the dragon clan. In particular, there was a strange figure of a paragon level. When he drew a black and white line, tens of thousands of Emperor God experts were instantly killed. It was unstoppable. The dragon cannon was threatened. In front, the strong members of the Dragon Palace immediately broke through the dragon race's defense line. With the Mad Dragon as the leader, they directly charged into the dragon race army. The head-on clash began. However, at the front, there were venerable level existences in the Dragon Palace. No matter how many dragon race people there were, they weren't a match for the venerables of the Dragon Palace. There are too many universe venerables in the Dragon Palace. It's over, it's over. The two dragon race venerables who were controlling the black screen formation felt their vision turning dark. They had used the formation to restrain more than 10 venerables, but their defense was still broken. One could imagine how terrifying the Dragon Palace was. If this wasn't their base camp, the dragon race would have been defeated long ago. Even so, they were just one step away from defeat. What should we do? The two of them exchanged glances and immediately looked towards the center. Rumble. As soon as they looked over, they heard a rumbling sound. The huge body of the mountain beast started to crumble rapidly. The mountain beast, which they had nurtured with their blood essence, was about to be finished. Once the mountain beast crumbled, how could their clan leader be a match for the 6 level 2 venerables of the Dragon Palace? It's over. Our dragon race is completely finished. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System's error-free chapters will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please bookmark and recommend the mobile game bar. Please bookmark the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Chapter 31-38. No. The leader of the dragon race looked on in despair as the mountain beast began to crumble. The mountain beast was the strongest trump card of the dragon race. The entire mountain beast had been built with the blood of countless experts of the dragon race. It had been more than 2 billion years since he arrived. After more than 2 billion years, the mountain beast had become the strongest trump card of the dragon race. It could go up against a few level 2 universe venerables. It could even go up against a level 3 universe venerable. However, the mountain beast began to crumble under the attacks of the Dragon Palace members. This caused the leader of the dragon race to crumble. The level 2 universe venerables of the Dragon Palace were comparable to level 3 universe venerables. Dragon King, we don't have any deep grudges. Why do you want to annihilate the dragon race? The leader of the dragon race bellowed in despair. No deep grudges? Sending the dragon-faced venerable to ambush me and hunt the alternative dragons is enough to annihilate your entire race. In the future, if any forces hunt the alternative dragons, they will be the enemy of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian declared with a cold expression. Countless chains rose around him as he stared at the leader of the dragon race with murderous intent. Kill him. Wang Xian let out a low growl and charged towards the leader of the dragon descendants. Roving Crab and the other devouring dragons swayed their huge and hideous bodies as they charged over. The heavenly formation set up a formation to seal and kill. I, Long Yun, am useless. I can't defend against the enemy's invasion. All tribesmen, escape. Remember, if you are strong enough one day, you must annihilate the Dragon Palace. The leader of the dragon race bellowed with the determination to die in his eyes. What? Leader? Oh no. The surrounding experts and disciples of the dragon race were appalled when they heard their leader. Their eyes were filled with despair. Run, run, run. Everyone, run. The 2 universe venerables of the dragon race felt their hearts tremble as they roared. Run. Hurry up and run. It's over. The dragon race is finished. The eyes of the experts and disciples of the dragon race turned bloodshot as they lost their will to fight and fled. Trying to escape? It's not that easy. Kill. Prime Minister Turtle, who was commanding from the sky, had a cold look in his eyes. With a move of his body, an incomparably huge tortoise shell attacked the group of disciples from the Dragon Clan. Kill. All the members of the Dragon Palace unleashed their terrifying power and chased after him. The army was defeated like a landslide. When the Dragonkin race's patriarch made the announcement, it signified the extinction of the entire Dragonkin race. Lock onto the two universe supremacies. Don't let them escape. The black screen great array also gradually collapsed. In an instant, more than a dozen Dragon Palace Venerables locked onto the two universe Venerables and directly attacked. Damn it, run! The two Dragon Descendant Race Universe Venerables were aghast as they hurriedly fled. Pooh! At this moment, a black and white shadow suddenly appeared behind a Dragon Race Universe Supremacy. Its sharp claws instantly pierced through him. I'll leave the other to you. Roving Demon passed through the body of a Venerable of the Dragon Race and said indifferently, Roving Demon, you're looking down on us. The displeased voices of Mao Zixin and the others came from behind. So. A deadly arrow immediately locked onto another universe supremacy. When that universe supremacy sensed that his comrade was being attacked, he had a bad feeling. He gritted his teeth and didn't dare to stop as he desperately flew forward. So. But at this moment, he sensed a terrifying attack coming from behind him. He gripped the relic in his hand tightly and had no choice but to turn his body to resist. Boom! The arrow was blocked by his incomparably powerful energy, but a few universe supremacies from the Dragon Palace had already surrounded him. It's over. Looking at the group of Dragon Palace supremacies, his eyes were filled with despair. No. At this moment, a desperate roar came from the side again. He looked over and saw his patriarch's body being grabbed by the Dragon King's huge claws. This caused his body to tremble as he powerlessly closed his eyes and slowly let go of the relic in his hand. Without any will to fight, he gave up resisting. Pooh! An arrow pierced into his body and melted it. Our patriarch is dead. The two supremacies are also dead. Run! Run! The Dragon Race Patriarch and the last two universe supremacies were dead. This caused all the disciples to panic. They fled even more frantically than before. Below, some ordinary disciples who didn't participate in the battle fled directly. The entire Dragon Race was in chaos. Sounds of fleeing, begging, and crying filled the air. After Wang Xian killed the Dragon Race Patriarch, he scanned the surroundings indifferently and watched quietly in the void. They had hunted the Azure Dragons wantonly. Who would have thought that this day would come? They reaped what they sow. A low-level universe race was rapidly heading towards extinction. We've arrived. At this moment, at the edge of the Dragon Race's Dragon Mountain, two supremacies from the nearest 1-meter race rushed over to check on the situation. They were covered in metal armor as they scanned the area ahead. Huh. The Dragon Race has collapsed? They've been annihilated so quickly? According to the records of our 1-meter race, the Dragon Race had a very powerful relic. I didn't expect them to be annihilated so quickly. That's way too fast. Third brother. Look, there are so many supremacies from the Dragon Palace. The two universe supremacies from the 1-foot race looked over and revealed shocked expressions. At a glance, there were more than 20 universe supremacies. Such a number was terrifying. No wonder the Dragon Palace could annihilate the Dragon Race. Their strength is definitely one of the best in the Milky Way. In terms of the number of supremacies, they have the most. One of the 1-meter race supremacies murmured. Huh. At this moment, Wang Xian, who was floating in the middle of the Dragon Race, sensed that someone was spying on them. He raised his eyebrows and looked over immediately. Oh no, we've been discovered. That should be the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. The two 1-meter race supremacies felt Wang Xian's gaze, and their hearts raced. Dragon King, we were just passing by, and came to take a look out of curiosity. Please don't blame us. The two of them exchanged glances and immediately bowed to Wang Xian. Wang Xian retracted his gaze and ignored them. With a wave of his arm, a crescent moon appeared in front of him as he looked at this world quietly. Around the dragon race, more and more supremacies rushed over. When they saw this scene, they were shocked. The invincible divine dragon cultivation system will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. If you like the invincible divine dragon cultivation system, please collect Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Chapter 31-39. The race was annihilated, and the flourishing leaves fell. Wang Xian hovered above the dragon's descendants, witnessing the annihilation of a primary race. The crescent moon shone in the sky, presenting a desolate scene. Wang Xian was monitoring the dragon's descendants, as well as everyone. The number of surrounding universe supremacies had already reached more than 10. He merely glanced at them and gave them a warning before not bothering about them. Dragon Palace. Most of the experts of the dragon's descendants have been annihilated. The rest of the ordinary disciples have either died or escaped. Half an hour later, Prime Minister Turtle flew over and reported to Wang Xian. Very good. Let's go and collect the treasures of the dragon's descendants. Wang Xian nodded. He was very satisfied with this battle. There were almost no casualties among the 500,000 members of the Dragon Palace in this battle. This was rare in a race war. He moved and immediately flew towards the Dragon Mountain of the dragon's descendants. At the side, Tianzhan carried the corpses of the 3 venerables and began to check the location of their cosmic god nation. After annihilating the dragon's descendants, it was time to check the spoils of war. As a race that had stood for billions of years, they possessed massive resources. Woo-woo-woo. According to his memory, Wang Xian flew towards a mountain peak. Just as he landed on the ground, a violent and oppressive voice rang out. The venerable level blazing turtle-winged beast was beheaded. This venerable level war pet was sold by Wang Xian and was bought by the dragon's descendants. Now, this war pet was placed at the foot of the mountain. Wang Xian did not understand why he did not order it to fight during the battle. However, he knew that a place guarded by a venerable level war pet was definitely not simple. According to his memory, this was the treasure vault of the dragon's descendants. How many treasures would a race have after billions of years? It was unimaginable. I hope I can bring some surprises, Wang Xian murmured. He released the dragon power from his body and suppressed the battle pet of the venerable realm. Roar roar. Sensing Wang Xian's familiar dragon's might, the war pet lay on the ground and did not dare to resist. Dragon King, I've found the location of the god nation of the dragon's descendants. I'll go and retrieve their cosmic god nation. At this moment, Tianzhan's voice came from above. Go. Wang Xian nodded with a smile and went straight into the treasure vault. As expected of the treasury of the dragon descendants, we've only just entered and there are already so many treasures. As soon as he stepped into the treasury, he heard Wang Xian's shocked voice. Just as Wang Xian and Dragon Palace were collecting their spoils of war, the Milky Way was in an uproar. The Dragon Clan has been completely annihilated. All the venerables of the Dragon Clan have been killed. The Dragon Palace annihilated the dragon descendants. The news of the Dragon Palace annihilating the Dragon Clan spread. Even if everyone had a premonition that the dragon descendants would be annihilated, the fact that the news spread so quickly still shocked countless people. This was especially true for the commoners of the Nine Swords race and the Dragon Descendants race. They stared blankly at the messages one by one. The Dragon Palace did not attack the other planets within the territory of the Dragon Descendants, nor did they attack the ordinary citizens. Now that they had witnessed the destruction of their race and their backer, they were all filled with fear and were at a loss as to what to do. Just a month ago, they were still mocking the Dragon Palace. In just a month, they were annihilated. Although the Nine Swords race was not destroyed, they had been scared away and disappeared from this side of the Milky Way. Only ordinary people like them were left. One destroyed, one escaped. This was the power of the Dragon Palace today. However, when the news of the Dragon Palace having more than 20 universe venerables spread, it caused a huge uproar. More than 20 universe venerables? What kind of concept was that? Even the most powerful mist race in the Milky Way only had 9 universe venerables on the surface. However, the Dragon Palace had more than 20. This caused some of the weaker universe races in the Milky Way to reevaluate the strength of the Dragon Palace. They had to think of ways to curry favor with the Dragon Palace so that they would not be targeted and annihilated. Luckily, the Dragon Palace's first target wasn't the Nine Swords race. Otherwise, the Nine Swords race would have been annihilated. At this moment, in the void, countless members of the Nine Swords race were sitting on various powerful battleships, islands, and artifacts. When they saw the information on the AI, they had a look of relief on their faces. The Nine Swords race was still a distance away from the Dragon Descendants race. If the Dragon Palace had attacked them first, all of them would have died. These people are from the Milky Way? On the right side of the Nine Swords race, two figures quickly flew over. They glanced around, and one of them had a gleam in his eyes. I've checked. They should be from the Nine Swords race. Now that a war has broken out in the Milky Way, a divine dragon lineage force called the Dragon Palace has risen and annihilated a universe race. An old man beside him said plainly, Dragon Palace? Do you think the death of Lu Shan and the rest has something to do with the Dragon Palace? Everyone in the Milky Way knows the strength of our sect. They wouldn't dare to touch Lu Shan and the rest. Moreover, given the strength of the few universe races in the Milky Way, only the Mist race and the Skeleton race could kill Lu Shan, the middle-aged man guessed. No matter which force or which expert it is, as long as we find them, we'll annihilate their entire family. The old man growled in a low voice with a stern look. They looked ahead and increased their speed. This is? Wang Xian had no idea what was happening outside. At this moment, he was in the treasure vault of the Dragon Descendants race, looking at the scene in front of him in shock. In front of him was a humongous wyvern that was tightly bound by 1-meter-thick chains. The entire flood dragon was over 10,000 meters long. Thump, thump, thump. A faint heartbeat could be heard. The flood dragon still had a trace of vitality. Wang Xian could sense that this flood dragon had a rather strong divine dragon bloodline. Even in the Dragon Palace, it would be considered a strong dragon species. However, its extremely weak body made its aura weak. Below its humongous body, there was a pool that was 10 meters wide. In it, there were about 1,000 liters of dragon blood. Above the pool, there was a huge wound on the flood dragon's body. This flood dragon was suppressed here by the Dragon Descendants race? The Dragon Descendants race has been absorbing its dragon blood? Wang Xian was shocked. He could tell that the strength of this flood dragon wasn't simple. He could also tell that the strong chains had trapped this flood dragon for a very long time. In fact, it might have been hundreds of millions of years or more. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Please collect if you like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Chapter 3140. After the extinction of the Cosmos God Dragon race, the other dragon species did not fare well. Wang Xian heaved a sigh as he looked at the dragon seed that was barely alive. He walked over and placed his palms on the chain. When he used all his strength to break the chain, he realized that it was sturdy beyond his imagination. Acquired spiritual treasure level? To be able to withstand my strength, this is definitely not the work of the dragon tribe leader. It seems like this flood dragon has been imprisoned for a long time. Wang Xian murmured. He moved and came to the end of the chain. This was an earth attribute acquired spiritual treasure that contained immense power. Wang Xian waved his arm and the 5 elements grindstone appeared. Waves of energy landed on the chain. Walala! The chain resisted instinctively. However, without anyone controlling the chain, even a powerful acquired spiritual treasure could not withstand the attack of the 5 elements grindstone. The chain shrank bit by bit and let out a horrifying sound. I've obtained a few acquired spiritual treasures this time. After the 5 elements grindstone devours them, it should be able to upgrade itself. Wang Xian looked at the chain with a smile. After the 5 elements grindstone upgraded again, it had the power to kill a level 2 universe supremacy. He looked at the flood dragon. The chain was removed from his body, but the marks left on his body did not recover. The flood dragon shuddered, but it didn't move in the slightest. What a pity. Wang Xian shook his head. He moved his palms, and a wave of dragon energy was channeled into his body. At the same time, some dragon blood entered his body. Thump, thump, thump. With the infusion of dragon energy and blood, the flood dragon's heart beat even more violently. As a large amount of dragon blood entered his body, his injuries started to recover. Streaks of lightning appeared on his body. The head that was buried in his body lifted up slowly. At this moment, Wang Xian finally saw his face clearly. It was a weak and old dragon head with a pair of dragon horns. The dragon horns were sparkling with purple lightning. Dragon blood? Thank you. It seemed like it had been a long time since he spoke. He opened his mouth at a loss for words. I'm from the divine dragon bloodline. You can address me as Dragon King. Wang Xian looked at him and spoke. Once again, he poured a large amount of dragon blood on him. The life force on his body grew stronger and stronger. His cloudy eyes slowly cleared up. Roar! He let out a low chant, and 5 minutes later, he turned into an old man. Thank you, benefactor. He opened his mouth, but as if he was not used to speaking, he directly knelt on the ground. Get up. We are all from the divine dragon bloodline. We should help each other. Join my dragon palace in the future. Wang Xian looked at him and said plainly, Yes, benefactor. The old man nodded and slowly stood up. How long have you been imprisoned here? Wang Xian asked curiously. I don't know. 300 million years? 400 million years? I can't remember. The old man shook his head as a look of reminiscence flashed in his eyes. Back then, I obtained some lightning-type treasures and was chased by a powerhouse. After I escaped, I was suppressed by a human and imprisoned in this dark place. He took my dragon scales and blood. Later on, he seemed to have established a race called the Dragon Descendants. They were all experts nurtured by my blood. The old man said bitterly and shook his head. What? Upon hearing his words, Wang Xian was slightly shocked. Didn't that mean that he had been imprisoned for more than 2 billion years? Lightning-type treasures? Is this the lightning-type treasures you mentioned? Wang Xian took out a lightning-type sacred feather and asked the old man. Yes, this is it. The old man nodded and continued. This is a small part of a powerful sacred item. Back then, I obtained 22 of them. Only 22? Wang Xian frowned slightly. After annihilating the leader of the dragon descendants, the number of lightning-type sacred feathers in his hands had indeed reached 22. However, he was still short of 27 to gather all of them. The remaining lightning feathers are with an expert from the chaotic continent, Heaven Creation. The old man nodded. Heaven Creation, chaotic continent. Upon hearing this name, Wang Xian's eyes narrowed. Legend had it that Heaven Creation, chaotic continent was the first continent in the universe. It was also the first place where life was born. That continent was incomparably vast. In order to establish a foothold on that continent, one had to possess the strength of a mid-level race in the universe. In fact, many mid-level races in the universe weren't even qualified to establish their race there. What realm were you in back then? Wang Xian continued to ask. Benefactor, I was a rank 3 universe supremacy back then. I could fight 2 levels above me and go against a rank 5 universe supremacy. The old man replied, Oh, with such strength, even among the dragon species, you would be considered top-notch. Wang Xian raised an eyebrow. Benefactor, you know about the dragon species? Yes, my bloodline unexpectedly reverted to its ancestors. The old man nodded his head. Perhaps you can evolve into a thunder dragon. Wang Xian looked at the old man and said plainly, It's good that I can live freely. I won't ask for anything else. I don't have much time left. The old man's eyes dimmed. Even though he was strong and possessed a powerful bloodline, however, he had lived for too long. So long that he was about to rot. Dragon King, the matter outside is almost settled. At this time, Prime Minister Turtle and the rest walked over and reported to Wang Xian. Her? Prime Minister Turtle and the rest looked at the old man in surprise. The old man was also surprised to see Prime Minister Turtle and the rest. What a pure divine dragon bloodline. This is an avatar dragon that was imprisoned here by the leader of the first-generation dragon descendants. Wang Xian introduced to Prime Minister Turtle. Lei Ming. The old man introduced himself. Nice to meet you. I'm Prime Minister Turtle of the Dragon Palace. These are the leaders of the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle nodded his head. Lei Ming will be a member of the Dragon Palace from now on. Let's head back after we're done here. Wang Xian said to them. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle and the rest nodded their heads. Wang Xian and the rest flew out of the treasure vault and looked around. They kept the 5 elements grindstone and brought Lei Ming back. Back in the Dragon Palace, Lei Ming looked around in shock. He could sense that all the members of the Dragon Palace possessed powerful divine dragon bloodlines. Many of them possessed bloodlines that were even purer than when he was at his peak. What did that mean? Those with purer bloodlines than him were comparable to real purebred divine dragons. Prime Minister Turtle, tabulate all the gains and bring all the treasures here. Wang Xian sat on the dragon throne in the Dragon King Hall and ordered immediately. This time, he had obtained a huge amount of resources from the treasure vault of the dragon descendants. The holy kingdoms of the leaders of the dragon descendants would definitely have a lot of treasures. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.